Hi, I'm JimmyNavio. Hi, we're doing it live. We are here with another episode of Hit the Bucket. Hello, everyone out there. My name is JimmyNavio. I'm not muted. I'm figuring this shit out. It's like I'm learning or something. Just a reminder, before we bring on our guests, this show is recorded live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/JimmyNavio. That's me. We have some amazing guest tonight, or a amazing guest. Well, I guess you could call my trusty co-host. He's kind of amazing as well. Mr. James 28 is with me as usual, and we also have with us a childhood friend of mine and world traveler, Mr. David Bond, is joining us. He has a ton of stories to tell. I'm going to bring him on in just a second, but one more reminder, this show does also go out on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube. It's all over the place. You can go Google Hit the Bucket Podcast and find it. Check it out. And also, one final reminder, there is a Hit the Bucket t-shirt out there. We have merch. You can find it at... we use Designed by Humans. The link is on my Twitch channel. The link is also in the description of the YouTube video. Go check that out if you want to get yourself a Hit the Bucket mug or t-shirt or sweater or nightie or, whatever it is that you like to do or wear. I'm not going to judge. So, one more thing. hitthebucketpodcast@gmail.com is our official email address. If you want to reach out to us about, being a guest or anything like that, if you have suggestions for guests, if you are looking to sponsor the show, anything like that, hitthebucketpodcast@gmail.com. I think that's all the important shit. Get that out of the way. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Mr. James 28 and our good friend James Bond. We're going to have ourselves a little conversation. So you guys can go ahead and unmute yourselves and we'll get this show started. Oh, there we go.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello there.
Sorry about that. I meant to warn you about the little intro thing. But how you doing?
What's going on, guys?
Yes.
I'm so happy to be a part of the Twitch channel that I've been subscribed to for 15, 16 months.
Yeah, I think you're my second oldest Twitch subscriber. I think the only person who's been subscribed longer than you might be Lakill. I think JC might be old. I don't remember who subscribed first. Either you or Lakill. One of you guys has the record though. And the funny thing is, like, you show up sometimes. You're like, "Hey," you renew your sub. You're like, "Hey, how's it going?" And you leave because you're a busy guy. But like you always want to support me, and I appreciate that. Even though like you can't always stick around. You're like, "Hey, here's your sub. See you later."
Well, because I'll see that you're on, and then there's this big glowing button. It says like, "Remind everyone that you subscribe," and I'm like, "Click, validate me." And it's like I get one of those buttons every month, so I might as well,
right?
Interrupt the entire stream so everyone can shower me with. Be like, take the money.
Gotta show off that massive sub badge.
Gotta make it rain. It's like being like people compare. I've heard the comparison made for Twitch to a strip club. Like sometimes someone will just show up and drop like a bunch of gift subs and donations and all this stuff just to like flex, like just to like make it rain. Just be like, look at me. I'm the guy with all this stuff.
What is a gift sub? Because I've been gifted subs and I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, who? Like what?
So gift subs, it was something that was recently added to Twitch. Basically, people were saying, hey, I subbed to a channel and I'd like to buy subs for other people. I'd like to be able to gift subscriptions to other people in the channel so that they can get the perks of a subscription, like the emotes and stuff. So Twitch added it as a feature where someone can buy gift subs for other people in that channel.
Oh, okay.
Rather than doing like donations or whatever.
Because I've been gifted a sub, and I was like, do I have to pay for this now? Like,
nope. It is
not. They just forced purchase on me.
It is a gift.
Your first sub is free, and the rest, it's like that. It's like sites that do that.
Well, they recently added a thing where you can choose to renew it. Like, so, if someone gifted you a sub and you decide, oh, okay, cool, I like this channel, I want to renew it and keep it going, you can do that. But if you don't renew the gift sub, it just runs out after that month. It lasts for 1 month and then it drops off. So it's just another way for people to support a channel and flex, and show their.
Drop some mad stacks. It's like, oh, this person's giving out 100 gift subs in the chat.
Yeah, they added bulk gift subs, which is crazy. So someone can show up in a channel and be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna give away 10 subs or 50 subs," and it randomly chooses like active members of that channel and just drops the subs all at once. And they're $5 a pop, right? So if someone comes in and gifts like 50 subs, they just spent $250 like buying people subs for that channel. It's
wow, that's amazing.
It's pretty crazy. Anyway, David Bond, for those who don't know, you can Google David Bond videos and he'll be the first thing that pops up. He has a reputation out there on the interwebs because he's a world traveler, and he makes a fair amount of his income from telling other people, hey, this is what I did and this is how you can do it. So I've known him for a long time, well before he started doing any of that stuff. I've known him since we worked at an old computer store in our hometown. Like, we all kind of met each other through this. Like, it was my first job ever in high school, and then other people got hired, and then him and our other friend Rob like kind of became good friends because at the time I was still Mormon, and both of them were atheists, but they enjoy a healthy debate. Like, they're down to, if someone's got an opinion on something and they just like, oh, really? Like, let's talk about it. And they'll never shy away from like a good conversation or a debate. And neither will I. Like, I can hold my own. And so at an early, like when we first met, they found out I was Mormon and they were atheists. We had a lot of crazy conversations about just like,
a lot of them. We worked together at a computer store.
Yeah, we did.
And I mean, the good thing about, well, maybe not the good thing. One of the things about working with someone is they can't leave. So they talk to you. It's like, hey, you bring up a topic and it's just like, well, we're all here. We can't leave, But at the same time, you'll end up getting to know people really well too.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And the cool thing is like they enjoy the debate, but they were always respectful. Like, they would never take cheap shots, right? Like, we would go really deep on stuff. We would like really hash it out and figure out, be like, well, yeah, but what about this? Well, what about that? And they're willing to do that without being like, well, God is fucking stupid. Like, they would never take the cheap shots or the low blows. It was usually a very healthy, like, sometimes it would get a little like heated or whatever, but it was always in good spirit, and it was always about just like expanding our minds and like becoming better and learning. So I always respected that about you guys. It's like, you knew I was Mormon and you were atheist and you may have disagreed with my beliefs, but you never shunned me or shit on me for it. You would always just try and encourage me to look at things from a different perspective, and I always respected that.
Funny story about like having crazy debates is I recently got in touch with someone who I hadn't talked to in over 10 years, and on Facebook, and he's like, yeah, man, I'm a pastor now.
Oh.
And I was like, wow. And he goes, yeah, it's because of you. It's because we debated so much. I got so into it that I ended up meeting other people, right? So I'm responsible for creating a pastor. But then on the flip side, I know this other guy, he went to college, and he said like all these heavy conversations we had, like they marinated for years, and then eventually he left his beliefs and changed his mind, and it was kind of a like, wow, like being that jerk who wanted to talk about religion all the time, like it influenced like two people in the opposite directions. Like, one person went hardcore pastor, one person went the other way, but it's interesting.
Yeah. In fact, at one point you guys were pretty like active in this whole pursuit, and at one point you guys went to didn't you guys meet and like debate Ken Hovind?
Yeah, we went to
for those who don't know, Google Ken Hovind. If you don't know who he is, just Google him.
Do that right now.
we went to a creationist conference, And I remember I was the only person who was not a creationist. And I remember like I had all these people surrounding me. We were all arguing. Oh my God, it was so ridiculous. But I was friends with, I was a frequent caller to the Kent Hovind show. And so he knew me, and it was, I don't even know. I mean, this is all like, this is like young kid stuff. I was really into it. And I also was, a very like liberal left-wing person. And as time went on, I ended up becoming a more of a conservative person. So it's weird, is like a lot of the people that I argued against and made fun of, I end up like, I feel like I agree with them on certain things now. It's weird. It's yeah.
Well, you're allowed to change your opinion. I think that's important to remember. Like, people are like, "Oh, you're that asshole who did X, Y, Z." Yeah, but like that was 10 years ago. Like, people change, man.
I'm a well-rounded person now.
So let's get into you and your history a little bit more, David Bond. So I knew you back when we were all fat. All we did was go to LAN parties. And like, our life was basically video games, and school was like an afterthought, and it was all just like LAN parties and, pizzas and fucking, occasionally we would date a girl that was willing to hang out with our nerdy asses. And, but it was all about like, we threw LAN parties regularly. Like that was our life before.
Yeah. I have a folder on my hard drive, just called LAN parties, and it's like I think it's like 50 or 55 albums of like each one I made its own album. So we that's a lot,
Yeah. So I want to point one thing out since you brought it up. David Bond, before social media was ever a thing, I don't know anyone who has documented and taken more pictures in his entire life than David Bond. Like every single LAN party, but not in a self-grant, like now social media is like people are like, look at me, but he does it strictly for documentation purposes. He documents everything, and I love it because like every time we reconnect, he's like, hey, remember this? And I'll pull up these pictures and I'm like, holy shit, I completely forgot about this. Like he has documented his entire life. Before smartphones were a thing, he had a digital camera. Like everything is saved and backed up, and like it's incredible how much stuff he has been able to accumulate and document, and he can pull it up at the, he's got it so well organized and stuff. He's just like, hey, look at this that happened back in like 2001 or whatever. Like, hey, remember right before you left for your mission, blah, 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 this happened. And it like pulls up a picture. I'm like, what the fuck? Like he documented my life better than I documented my life. And I've always,
it's always been a thing of mine. I've always loved, I've always been highly nostalgic, and because of that, I love to look back. I mean, even something I did a few years ago is I bought a scanner, and I had my mom like pull out all the photo albums, which we have a lot. We have these big, thick ones, and we went through and scanned hundreds of photos that were taken in the 80s. And so I have it organized. So if I wanted, I have a little on my Google Photos. I literally can just type in David Baby, and every single photo of me that was ever taken of me as a child will just pull up, because it has facial recognition and stuff.
That's crazy. I have mad respect for that, because there's parts of my life that I like have completely forgotten because they're not documented in any way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me go to the restroom very quickly.
Sure.
I'll be back.
Absolutely. I have some questions for James, actually. So.
Ooh, questions.
Yeah.
I didn't know this is about me. All right, go ahead, shoot.
It's all good. So, James.
So, Jimmy.
I haven't heard a peep from you this week.
Oh, yeah. And pretty swamped with the studies.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So you said you had a huge presentation to give, and you like turned it in. You did it the night before, and you aced it.
I did, yeah.
You did what James does.
I do. I found that I'm very effective at putting together large amounts of work the night before. It's a mixture of the pressure and the oncoming deadline that really forces you to get a ton of work done very well.
I feel like you need to do a YouTube video on how to procrastinate efficiently. I need to learn from the master.
No, the most efficient way is just don't procrastinate from the beginning. Just plan it out beforehand. Don't let it stay till the day before.
He's a pro procrastinator. Yeah, no, I call him the procrastinator. He's made it an art form.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so David.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Those who don't know you from our past, and obviously we can wax nostalgic all night long about like all that fun stuff, but I want to kind of dive into. So the internet knows you as David Bond, who has done all these things and gone all these places and met all these people and let's be honest, a lot of beautiful women. You have a reputation. Obviously, you can go look at your YouTube channel. You're good at what you do. But it started from something, right? There was a starting point when this whole thing, it ignited from a specific point in your life. There was a turning point, right? So could you kind of tell us that story of how this whole thing started?
Yeah. What was that noise?
I accidentally bumped my arm on my I bumped the spring on my little thing here.
Oh, I thought that was like an effect.
Yeah, so I've always been really big on documenting my life, as you talked about. But the kind of turning point, or like the point where everything kind of changed, was I was in a relationship with a girl for 6 years that I met on MySpace.
6 years? I didn't know it was that long. That's crazy.
Yeah. We met on MySpace, and I lived with her, and I was a lot fatter. I had a regular job and all that stuff. Pastimes include playing poker, playing Xbox, normal stuff. And basically, she wanted to buy a house. And when this happened, deep down, I didn't want to. But she pressured me into it. And that was another thing about me that was a lot different, is when women pressured me, I always said yes. In fact, I had relationships with girls I wasn't even attracted to, just because they were so persistent, and so I was just I just wanted to please people, I guess.
Right.
And so I was like, okay. She's like, yeah, you're this age. This is what you do when you're this age. This is what you do when you're 27. You buy a house. This is also, by the way, right around the housing boom, before the bubble popped.
Oh, right before the crash.
Yeah. So of course she's like, everyone's doing it. We should do it.
Everybody's buying houses these days.
So I was working at a computer store, or I was working at a hospital. And around this time, I had got turned on to RSD videos. RSD, which is this self-development company that focuses on men's dating advice. And it was basically a pickup artist, guy. And, we all have our little weird things that we like to watch. Some people like to watch the Snooki show, even though they don't. You know what I mean? You
Jersey
really
Shore.
Yeah, we all have these weird things that we watch, but we don't want to admit. And so I like to watch this guy, and he would talk about picking up girls, and I thought it was interesting. And so that was in the back of my brain, but I was obviously I'm not going to apply this. So we get approved for a loan. We get approved for $250,000. Okay, because she had a great credit score. I had a good credit score. I had $15,000 saved up. She had $10,000 saved up. And we're both white. I'm kidding. No. So we were we were the perfect candidate. They're like, yeah, the housing boom. You guys got money. You guys got good credit scores. Here's $250,000. Get yourself a house. And so, of course, Heather was like, yo, we can afford this. And I'm like, deep down, I'm like, I don't like this. Yeah. I don't want to owe a bank. But I always said yes, because she's my girlfriend,
Right.
And so long story short is, eventually I was like, yo, I'm not doing this. Cause it was the pressure started getting really intense. And so we had a small break. A break turned into a long break. We ended up breaking up. And here I was, single for the first time since I was 17 years old.
Right.
Because I had two girlfriends back to back. The first time ever being single. And I was fat, and I'm like, what is this? So I was like, why don't I try some of that pickup artist crap? And at first I was like, I tried it and it was horrible. It was cringy. It was just like the worst. But I kept going. And every time I tried it, I would go on the internet and be like, hey guys, I tried this, and people talk to me. Guys. Yeah. And so I would go to LA, and and eventually I met a girl, and I had always liked Asian chicks, but I always felt bad about it because like all my white girlfriends were like, oh, you're one of those creepy men. And so it was like this. It felt like admitting I like Asian girls in public was like admitting I was like gay or something. Like that's how it felt. And so the first girl that I met through the pickup artist creepy stuff was this like 19-year-old half Thai, half Chinese girl that had a banging body. It was great. And it was like an emotional experience because this was the first time ever I had ever met a girl in real life. Because all the girlfriends before, which was only 2, I met on the internet.
Right.
And keep in mind, I had never been to prom. I had never been in a nightclub. I had never been in a bar. So like my world is I'm a computer guy. Here's a computer. Everything outside of that is weird.
Right.
So for me to like walk up on my like physical legs and like say things, and then 30 days later I have a naked Asian girl in my bed, it was really traumatic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for the first time in my life, I felt like I had a little bit of control because, for a long, I was always kind of just reacting to things like, like girlfriend tells me to do something. Okay. My mom tells me to go to college. Okay. It's always like, I just felt like I was a sailboat floating and whichever wind blew me was controlling me.
Right.
It was the first time
I was like, wait a second. Like I like made something happen. And so I was like, wait a second, I could do this again. And so I tried to do it again. And then I got obsessed, of course, you gotta understand what you see right now is not the version of me that was existing. It was like this very silly person, like this chubby, like my reality was very limited. I had barely even left the state. You know what I mean? I'm 27 years old, never been on a plane, never been in a nightclub, never been in a bar, didn't go to prom, never went to a single party that wasn't a LAN party. And here I was storming up to women I didn't know and getting them to like me a little bit. It was like super intense.
Right.
So
I'm sure that was addictive at first when you're like, oh shit, like
that dopamine hit.
Yeah, because all the voices in your head telling you that it's not going to work, they start to shut up. Right. It's working. You know what I mean?
Right.
Keep in mind, I was a decent looking person, and I actually was funny. I just didn't know how to express it. So fast forward, I lost a bunch of weight. I started focusing heavy on poker and pickup at the same time. So I was making money at poker too, and I saved up like $30,000. And
wow.
I was talking to my coworker about this, and he's like, man, I can't believe you have that much money. If I had that money, I would quit my job and just travel. I was like, that's crazy. I have a good job. Why would I do that? But then it started to like marinate. I'm like, you know what? This is kind of, and then I thought, wait, if I don't have a job, I could pick up girls every single day.
Full time.
And so because at the time I was leaving to go to LA because Bakersfield has nothing. Bakersfield has pregnant, just like, it's like trying to eat out of the trash. Like,
hey, come on now. My fiance might be from there.
Look, I'm sure. I mean, keep in mind, this is my brain at the time, like 2011 or whatever. So, fast forward, and I kept having this strong desire to keep going. So at first it was picking up girls, then it was doing this, then it was pushing myself higher and higher and like doing things that were weirder and weirder and scarier. Like I even would approach girls that were sitting down with guys at the same time. Like I had on video and everything. Like that's like really, I wouldn't do that now. That's like psycho, right? But I was like, how far could I push the matrix? Like, is this reality, And so I wanted to do something big. I asked my job for vacation. They said no. I asked again. They said no. They asked again. They said no. I got mad. And I decided, I'm going to go skydiving. That's something crazy. I went skydiving And it was so intense because it was my first airplane like experience.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
The first time you were ever on an airplane is when you went skydiving?
Yes. My
What?
first time being on an airplane.
That's crazy.
So it was really intense.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, adrenaline pumping through my body, and all these marinating things started to like get really loud.
Right.
Like, and it was like, the way I can explain it is like, do you ever listen to cool music or like rap music and you have this version of yourself in your head of like
You're like, yeah,
Like I could
Yeah,
totally
like-
be singing these lyrics.
Yeah, like we all have like a cool version. Like, have you ever seen the Life of Walter Mitty, that movie?
Mm-hmm.
I think
You know,
so.
like, where he like daydreams, and it's about this guy who's like a total loser and he's never done anything, and he has these daydreams, or like American Beauty. We've all seen that, right?
Right, yeah, where the
Mhm.
dad's
Yes.
like has this idea of what's gonna happen, and
It was like that. It was like I was dazing off, and like I would start crying at work, but there was nothing that was making me cry. It was just like so weird. And so I remember like I'm high on the adrenaline, and I'm like, I have all these thoughts, and it was like I remember I went to work, and I'm like, I'm gonna quit my job, and like so, and I recorded it too. I have a little spy cam, so so. I just like walk into, and keep in mind, I went skydiving like on a Friday, and then like Monday morning, I'm like quitting. So I walk in, you know, and I was like, hey guys, what's up? And they're like, hey, what's up? Want some coffee? I'm like, how do I quit? And they thought I was kidding. They go, oh, you're funny. I'm like, no, really, like if I wanted to quit, how would I do that?
I don't know how to.
Well,
I've never done it
technically,
before.
you go to HR, because I worked there 3.5 years. You know, like I never even a complaint, no, not a shred of complaining or anything.
Right.
So then I just go to HR and I said, hi, I'd like to quit this job. They're like, what? No. And then we talk, and they're like, why do you want to quit? I was like, well, I wanted to go on vacation, but you guys keep saying no. And then I thought I could just quit and go. And then they're like, okay. So then all of a sudden she starts making phone calls, and then the department realizes I wasn't bluffing. They go, David, what? Are you seriously going to quit? I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to quit. It's like, why? I'm like, well, I went on vacation and you guys said no. And I realized I could just go if I quit. And they're like, no. And the whole department freaked out. The CFO, the chief financial officer, calls me in her office. They offer me a raise. They offer me a new computer. And they offer me a month paid vacation if I don't quit.
Wow.
Because they realize that they can see it, that I'm having a breakdown. You know what I mean? They're like, yo, he needs to have his time. Let's get it out of his system. That's
when
what
you were doing IT work for them, right? Like you were kind of an important role in their company. So if they lost you, like they would have had to scramble to find someone to replace you, probably.
Yeah, 2 whole hospitals had 2 IT guys, and I was doing most of it because the guy who was above me, most of it was grunt work. Most of it was like, my computer doesn't turn on, my printer doesn't print. It's like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So long story short, everyone freaks out. They offer me a lot of stuff and I say no. And then I just quit. And then I walk in, I tell my mom, I'm like, hey mom, I quit. She's like, what? That benefit? And then I started just going on the internet, and I was like, well, I don't have a job now. So I had like some random guy invited me to Japan, and I said, sure. And then I was like, wait, I need a passport. Like all these things started happening. So I go to Japan, went there for 2 months, did nothing but pick up girls every single day. Okay. And I had a GoPro. And because I like to document my life, I document everything. I had a GoPro on my head, GoPro on my chest, everything, just filming. But I didn't post it on I didn't post on YouTube. I just for myself, because that's what I like to do.
Yeah, you've always done that. Like I said before, since I've known you, you've always documented everything we did. Just like, and it's awesome to have all that history.
Yeah, and so I was doing this, and I mean, Japan was just insane. Wait, hold on, can't find it. I posted my video to the YouTube. Someone said that they can't find it. Let me make sure the link works just fine. So I don't know what they're talking about. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so I started meeting these really cute girls. I started meeting people who travel and like it was awesome. And so then I just started to like post, but I would post it in like little baby tiny little Facebook groups. And I started posting, and it was, again, this is not on YouTube, this is just for me. And I'd post it like in a little face, kind of like I have a little Facebook groups with the unit, like 20 people. And so then I made a YouTube channel, but it was just to share long videos, because at the time Facebook wouldn't let you post things that were longer than, like if it was over a gig, it would say no. So I had a YouTube channel, and then this is where things started going crazy. Is someone saw one of my videos on YouTube that was unlisted. It's not public, it's unlisted. They shared it on another forum that I didn't know about, and then that started sharing. Boom! It got on the front page of worldstarhiphop.com.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I know. WorldStar.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I wake up and my video that has 7 views has 40,000. And then the next day, 200,000. And then boom, I make the news. I'm on the news in Hong Kong. And if you guys are curious what the video is, just type in guy steals girl from Chinese guy.
Guy steals girl? Is that what you said?
Yeah, guy steals girl from China. So basically it was a video where my friend was flirting with a girl who also was flirting with another guy. The guy got possessive and started holding her hand. And I thought it was so weird that my friend is hugging a girl who's holding hands with another guy, and she kisses the guy while holding hands with the other guy. And it's super crazy.
Right.
And people were all interpreting like, what is going on? And then Hong Kong, they don't understand English. They just like, oh, this guy is stealing his girlfriend. So it made the news. And I'm like scared. And all of a sudden I have articles about me. And I'm like, and I'm like, of course, I'm like, no, it's not true. I'm a good person. And they were like, no, you're not. You're a bad person. Right?
You're stealing our Asian women.
Yeah. And so, long story short, I started to read what they were writing about me, and it was so scary. Because, when you don't have attention on you and you suddenly do, it's like, your brain is like, oh my God, everyone knows. And I'm like going outside like, oh, are they going to know? So eventually it calmed down, and I realized, I was like, God, they make me look like a monster. Like the things they would write about me was so insane. Like, he has a porn site, he's doing this. And I'm like, it's all like fake. And it was like my first introduction to like fake news, basically, where they have a person, they can vilify them, and they start making things up. I was reading all kinds of things about me that weren't even true. And so when it died down, also people in the chat, they had a petition against me, all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
And there was a Facebook page called Respect Asian Women. It had 10,000 followers, and it was just my face. And it was yeah. And
the notoriety there.
And so then I started doing interviews, okay? And this is where it flipped in my mind. Because at first I'm like, I'm just a guy. I just like to travel. I'm a nice person. Please like me. Please approve. And then I had these long interviews where I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is the truth. This is the truth. And they're like, really? It's like, I'm thinking it's the news, because I live in like normal human brain.
Right.
I think the news is true, Yeah. And so then I would read the articles that would come out from the outlets I interviewed. And it was so different because it was like, what they would do is like, let's say there was like, they would take the 10% of what I said and then focus on that. So for example, they're like, what happened? I'm like, this happened. Is this true? No, this isn't true. Is this true? No, this isn't true. I'm a good guy. Here's the proof. And then they'd be like, so we notice in a photo, there's KY. Why do you have that? I was like, what? Like
KY, like the lubricant, or?
Yeah. Like they would, and then they say, many people speculate that you have anal sex. I was like, well, I didn't have anal sex with the girls, but who cares? What are you talking about? And he's like, have you ever had anal sex with an Asian girl? I was like, well, yeah. And they're like, interesting. So then the article would be like, David Bond confesses to fucking girls in the ass. And like, the whole article was about how I'm a bad guy and I do girls in the butt. Like, I'm not even kidding. I have the documents. Like, I have the photos of the article and everything. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so I got so pissed. And I said, you know what? They want a villain. They're going to get a motherfucking villain. So I took all my videos that were private, public.
Wow.
Keep in mind that I traveled for 16 months before I ran out of money. And so I'm sitting at home, I'm bored, and I'm like, I'm going to give him a villain. So I started talking to the outlets. I was like, yo, you think that video's bad? Oh my God, you should see this one. And they started eating it up. And I was like,
you just embraced it, just fucking went for it.
Yeah, because it was like, it was like, there's a point where you're like, okay, look, obviously I'm not going to win this, because it's like, and that's when I was like, well, wait a second. Like, you know, my video got almost 4 million views. What if, because they were lying and they said I had a porn site. And I was like, what if I did, but there was no porn in it? How much money could I have made? Because imagine you're on the news and all millions of people believe that you are selling something, but the fact is you have no website. Imagine if you had a website and they believed it, they might have bought it. And I was like, dude, even if I had like 2% of 3-4 million, and this is when my brain started thinking, because I was like, wait, okay, fake news is fake. And so I was like, what if I take advantage of this? And so I started fucking with them, and I started and it worked. It was so easy, and it was just like, here I am. And at this time, I got a new job. I worked at a regular job, and I launched a website, and I told the media, hey guys, I have a site now. And then I would make fake Facebook accounts to message them. Oh my God, David put me on his site. I'm so scared. Can you talk about it? And they're like, sure. David Bond launched his website. Speculative porn. Is it true? We don't know. And then boom, thousands of dollars just flooding my account. like seriously, like it was all Chinese guys. And like PayPal has a little thing where it notifies you, and I'm scrolling, just flick, thousands of dollars, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, news outlets are lying, and
you were taking advantage of it.
They weren't checking anything. The site had like 6 videos, and it was like me on a motorbike and like me like vlogging. It was like the dumbest shit ever. But I was like, okay, you fucks. You want to lie about me and smear me? At least I'm going to get a little reimbursement check at the end of the goddamn month. And then, of course, all this died down. I stopped caring. I had a regular job again. And, but, the back of my mind, I was like, that was kind of fun. That was cool. My current employer has no idea about any of this. When I say my current, like back then. So I had this idea. What if I actually sold something that's good? What if I actually made a real product? So I made my first thing called the Single Man's Guide to Japan. And it was a full-length guide to getting laid in Japan, which at the time I felt like I knew I had something to say about that.
Right. And
I got lucky because all of a sudden feminists picked it up. They're like, white man teaches other white men how to harass women. And I was like, yeah. And it was like all the same things started happening. And it was like, holy shit. And then boom, I made like $13,000 in like 6 weeks. And it was like, holy crap. And then, I saved up another 30,000 and I said, you know what? Fuck it. Let's try this again. So I quit that job. Right?
I remember that one. I remember the second. I remember where you were working. You were working with Eric, I think.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, this time I'm gonna try to make this work. And so my channel only had 4,000 subscribers at the time, and so I said, what if I made another guide? And so I started traveling, and I was really, really focused on actually trying to make money this time, because before I just was doing it for myself.
You're just fucking around, and then you ended up like falling into it.
Yeah, and so then I go to Thailand, I make the Thailand guide, that sells okay, and then I start to make all these websites, and I start to make videos, and things start to happen, things start to grow, and then I'm like, I realized like, holy crap, I'm making enough money to do this. Like this is working. And so, I have all this free time and then, my channel starts to grow more, and then I start to meet people, and, everything snowballs. And yeah, so, I mean, that's basically it. It all started with buying a house that I didn't want. And then I bailed on that, and this, breaking up with Heather, the skydive, like there's all these things that took, it was like, there's like the version of me that I secretly wanted to be, but I was too scared to be. And each little thing started pushing it, and then it got faster and faster, and then it, this explosion. And so now, like I have a lot of, like the personality that I embody today is more expressive, a lot less scared, less concerned. Because you understand, when you have media attention on you that's negative, your ego gets involved, and you're like, no, it's not true. Like, it's scary. Like, what? But then when it happened, for the record, I've been on television 45 times. I have a folder called David Bond Media. It's every single, if you just go on YouTube and type in David Bond news, you'll just see like Korea, Taiwan, every single country. It's just like, David's a bad person. David's a bad person. David's a bad person. Bad. In fact, if you Google David Bond, the first article is an article about how I'm wanted by the police. It's like so stupid. It's like, just like, because that's how these outlets work, is they see a villain and they want to serve justice, but they can't hurt you. So they have to like use their platforms to smear you or like say things about you or whatever. And, so I have a super thick skin to that. And, so, now it's a business, I guess, now it's what I do, so, I guess, yeah, people in the chat are talking about the change.org petition. It's like thousands of people signing to like ban me from places. It's so stupid. It doesn't do anything, because you actually have to break the law, to like, and having a GoPro and filming yourself is not illegal. So,
right.
Mm-hmm. It's a really interesting situation.
Yeah, no, so there's a couple things I want to touch on there a little bit that people might not know. So number one, you are a almost obsessive serial saver. Like, I don't think, like, number one, to be able to do what you did, you are so incredibly frugal. Like, I remember we had these ongoing jokes about David, because like he'd be like, hey, they're doing that deal at Burger King again where you can get 20 nuggets for $3 or whatever. Like, what he did, like he was working a full-time job, but he was able to find a place where rent was super cheap, and he lived like bare minimum lifestyle and just banked so much money. And like, he's a testament to saving, because like a lot of people don't know that, like, a lot of us enjoy shooting guns. Like, we have a group of friends that like they all own like shotguns and rifles and all that stuff, and they'll go out in the field. Nice, get in there, dude. We'll go out in the field and shoot guns and whatever. And the whole time, like, David has admitted, like, we've had conversations about this where he's like, every time I pull the trigger, I'm thinking how much that bullet cost. Like, he's very super conscious of how much he's spending. He's like, there's $2, there's $2, there's $2, there's $2. And it's kind of what, like, that obsessive need to save his money and use it on something of value has kind of what's allowed him to do what he does. Like, he's been very frugal and conscious of his spending and where his money's going, because a lot of people spend a lot of money on stupid shit. And I've always appreciated that the David Bond, like, in today's time, like, a lot of people do not have that value of like, hey, I can save money up and do something with it. So like, where did that come from? Like, what? Well,
I've always had this philosophy, like, live like a homeless person but play like a king. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather have really cool toys than have really high bills. Like, I don't mind living with sacrifice if it means that I can, I feel like, honestly, it had to do with like back when we would build our own computers for gaming. Like, I always like wish I had the best video card, and like, like, I'd rather have a really good video card and have a shitty car. You know what I mean? Like, it's stupid. But I mean, I saved money my whole life, not even trying, just like, I just didn't spend it, and it was only when I started traveling for the first time, I was like, like every dollar the more money I save, the longer I don't have to have a job and I can just like travel and like pick up chicks. And so when you think of that, like, it's all about how you think about it. You know what I mean? It's like the more money, it's like money doesn't represent money. Money represents time more of that I could use or something like that. And I don't know. I guess it's just a personality thing. I've always hated debt. I don't like commitment, and that kind of connects with debt. I don't like the idea I have to owe. If there's a sentence that starts with "I have to," I don't like it. I have to. Mm-hmm. No. I don't want to have to anything. Like, I want to, like, I like mobility. I like that I can just like float around, and maybe some of these are bad things to be, but that's always been my personality. Like, I only moved out of my mom's house because my girlfriend like made me. She was like, "You should." I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "I save a lot of money." She's like, "No, but you should." I'm like, "But who cares?" And she's like, "No." And you know what I mean? Like,
it's like, people your age do this, so you should do it too, rather than like, well, I'm perfectly fine and happy where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and I'll spend money. Like, I'll spend, but it's on things that, again, it's like, does this make me, is it fun? Is it, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, like my laptop is like a $2,000 like gaming laptop, right? But like, if I were to buy like, like lunch, like, I don't want to spend $10. You know what I mean? It's like, because this is fun, it's a toy, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it comes from anywhere, but this is my personality. But it kind of connects with the lifestyle or whatever, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So you talked about like the whole living with your parents thing. We could get into the whole debate of like cultural differences in general, because there's so many things that we could touch on there, right? But like, number one is like, I have a friend, he's his family, he's first or second generation in the United States. His family's from Mexico, and it's not uncommon for there to be like 3 or 4 generations in the same household, and no one's saying like, "Oh, you still live with your parents?" Like, it's respected. It's like, "No, I'm taking care of my family." Like, it's a very like Western, like American idea that like living with your parents is like frowned upon or whatever. Like there's even a lot of Asian cultures where it's like, you don't move out of your parents' house until you get married. So that whole idea that like, oh, you're a loser because you live with your parents, it's kind of like, that's a cultural thing, and it's kind of silly, right? Like, why not? Like, that if I move out, that bedroom's gonna just be empty anyway. Like, why don't we work together and it's mutually beneficial, right?
Like, I feel like if you are saving money for a purpose, like, living with your parents is fine. Yeah, and every culture is different. I don't really have any strong thoughts on it. I don't, I understand a lot of people want to move out because they don't like their parents. Like, they don't want to be nagged.
Right.
They want to have privacy.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely that motivation. That was a big one for me. Like,
control.
Living on my own was kind of like, I can do whatever I want. I'm just gonna like get out of the shower and air dry and walk around naked in my apartment for 30 minutes and then put my clothes on. Like, you can't do that, I guess.
This is my sacred space. I pay for it.
Right, exactly. But touching on cultural differences a little bit, other than like, obviously, so people, a little controversy here, right? You have a preference for a certain type of woman, right? Like, you've always been attracted to Asian women, and you've taken a lot of flack for that, right? And people say that, oh, you a lot of your videos are you in Thailand, you in Japan, all that stuff, and like, obviously you've been criticized time and time again. They're like, oh, I'd love to see him try and pull that shit off in America, right? Like, that's one that I've heard even in chat just now. Like,
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I've always liked Asian girls, but I would say now it's extended. I'm attracted to what I call exaggerated features. So I like when a girl is very short or has really big boobs or a really big butt or really long hair. I like I like girls when they walk in the room, people want to talk shit about them. Like I like that. That for some reason I like that. But I like Hispanic girls. I like hijabs. I like Muslim girls. That's a recent thing. What's funny is like the more I dislike Islam, the hotter Muslim girls seem, which is like a weird thing. You know what I mean? Like the more I learn about it, like dude, when I'm on planes, all I watch on Netflix is North Korean documentaries, ISIS stuff, like democratic politics. It's all things that I'm not a big fan of, but I just like to learn about it. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, yeah. So I think that the criticism about Asian women, what was it that?
Well, because people say like what you're doing is people have said that like any white dude, any white nerd can just go to Thailand or go to Asia and it's easy just because you're white, or even if you're semi-attractive,
sure.
that you can just show up and girls are gonna be like, oh, look at this white guy, and like. And they they say thing. Basically, oh, if he were to try and do the same thing in America, like he wouldn't, it'd be so much harder, and he wouldn't have as much success. And
so I have a whole article addressing this. It's called "The Truth About Being a White Guy in Asia." I published on NetShark. You guys can check it out. But so this is a common narrative that's is spit out that being a white guy easy, da da da. So the first thing what I would say is that the truth is. It is true that dating in other countries is easier, okay? But what I would say is it's easier for everybody. And so in Thailand, for example, I recently had a really enlightening experience where I had two fans of my channel reach out to me. One's an Indian guy and one's a Chinese guy. And they're both from LA. So it's like a very almost scientific thing, right? They both go there. We all are on Tinder, and they're like, dude, this is awesome. These girls are responding to me. I'm getting a lot of matches. And all of us were getting like, it's kind of like the tide rises all boats. The truth is that Thailand has a superior dating culture in general. And so the idea that, it's because I'm white, I don't think, I think that's maybe 10% true. But I don't think it's as true as people think. The truth is the Indian guy got laid a lot. The Chinese guy got laid a lot. All of us got laid a lot. All of us had a lot of fun. All of us met girls. But the truth is that where this comes from is that most of us are friends with people who live near us. Well, most of us come from white countries, like Western influence, whatever you want to call it. So the types of people we talk to about this tend to be white. And it's so natural to blame it on, it's because I'm different. But the truth is, if you were Indian or if you were Chinese, you would have a similar story. But no one says, oh, dude, if you go to Thailand and you're Chinese, oh my God, you kill it. No one says that. It's because we live in our bubble where we only know people of a similar ethnicity, right? Now, it is true that being a Western person does give you sexual market value because there's a perception that you're from a Western country. Western countries are developed and wealthier. But here's the thing. It's Western. So, for example, I have a guy named Loy. He has an he has an accent just like mine. And he says he's from Australia. Well, not just like mine. He's from Australia, but he has that Western influence, right? So he does have a little bit of a sexiness to him, but he is not white. He's a Chinese guy, okay? And he gets laid like crazy too. So I want to kind of like this idea that it's because you're white. I don't believe that. I feel like I've spent enough time in enough places to know. Not only that, but here's the thing: is I've traveled with guys who are white guys and good looking and have fit bodies and all that stuff who suck. They're too shy or they're just weird or whatever. So I think it's just a childish thing to say. But to address the idea that he can't do this in his own country, I have a whole video called David Bond, Loser Can't Get Laid in His Own Country. I have a whole video. So I have a whole video. Just type in David Bond USA, David Bond Can't Get Laid or something like that. And it's like 20 minutes straight of compilations of like video stuff because before I traveled, I was running around LA and I filmed the same thing. You know what I mean? I just think it's a cheesy, I don't know. I've heard it a million times, and in my mind, it's like ancient like criticism. And I guess still today, people who are a little bit naive and don't know much might say that. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, okay, the truth is some dating cultures are better than others. In the same way that like being gay is easier in America than it is in Iran or whatever, right? It's easier. Well, because those cultures foster a environment where being gay is easier. So I feel like in America, we're accustomed to a certain dating culture. For example, dating cultures that shun age gaps that are too big.
Sure.
You know, I'm 32. If I wanted to date a girl that's like 19, a lot of people would perceive that as like weird or like I'm a creepy old man, right?
Like you could be your father.
Yeah, but a lot of places in the world that's not seen as weird, right? Or for example, public displays of affection, the speed to which you're intimate. Like there's all kinds of things that influence dating culture and our ideas. So of course we think, oh, it's easier. Is it easier? It's just better, right? And it's easier for all people. And I don't know if that answers the question or not. But.
No, that does. We're getting there. Like, so I want to know from you, what makes it better? Like, what is it about? Like, for example, the dating culture in Thailand and how they treat sexuality and sex and all that stuff versus the United States or more Western, like, conservative
there's
kind
a couple
of culture.
Big ones. So first, there are other, many dating cultures are better than the United States. The dating culture in Indonesia, dating culture in Thailand, obviously the Philippines is obviously a good example. But even places, like Ukraine, I've heard. Places like, I'm trying to think of places that aren't Asian. Dating cultures even like dating cultures, even in, people would say a small town versus a big city. People tend to say that small towns are easier, and there's a lot of factors. So the first thing that's really big is in the United States, half of the people are fat and half of the women are fat. So as men, we're attracted to young, fit, like that's what most guys are attracted to. And the fact that the dating pool, half of it is unattractive to most men, the ones who are thin, their thinness doubles in value. Okay. So think of it like, imagine if like right now, all of the beef in America, half of it suddenly was rotten. Well, what do you think it's gonna do to the price of beef? The price of beef is gonna shoot up, might go double, right? That's kind of a simple analogy to the sexual dating market in the United States. The fact that half the bitches are fat makes the girls who aren't fat feel like they're hot shit. Okay. And that's why you see this phenomenon of like these really attractive guys dating these like girls that are just not anything. Another thing is a lot of places in the world, prostitution is available and is not stigmatized as much.
Okay.
So what that does for the sexual marketplace is it's very simple. It's going to be very crude terms I'm using, but a very, very simple cartoon explanation of the sexual marketplace is supply and demand, right? There is a demand for sex. There's a demand for affection. That's coming from the men. And then, women have their demands. They demand certain things. They want a guy has status, has financial stability, is funny. Our looks are there, but they're not really that like as important. You know what I mean? Russell Brand is attractive, not because his face is attractive, it's because he's funny and he's tall and all that. You know what I mean? There's
quick-witted and all that other stuff.
Yeah. So, whereas as women, men are very simple. We want young, we want attractive. Like you could be dumb, you could be, we'll forgive a lot of stuff. So the sexual market. I
mean, that's a bit of a generalization, but yeah,
it is a generalization. But
a lot, like, yeah. I mean, in general terms, like, obviously, there's a reason that movie stars are movie stars, right? There's a certain like, physical aspect to it that is we can't deny our evolution, right? That there is certain physical attributes that may or may not be more attractive than others. And
it is, yes, there are things beyond a woman's looks that are attractive, but for the simplicity of it, most guys, look, if you see a girl who's homeless on the street begging for money and she's cute, she's got some nice titties, you're not gonna be like, that lady, her financial stability is in question. I'm not interested. You're gonna be like, yo, let's pick her up. Let's help her out. You know what I mean?
I don't know. She might be full of STDs. I don't know.
Sure, fair enough. Anyway, so when you have a country where prostitution is available and not
supply and demand, yeah.
What happens is the supply of sex is now artificially increased. The price is also pushed down because the guy, and again, I'm not a big prostitution guy. I don't like it. It's weird, whatever. But in the United States, if you get arrested for that shit, you're like a sex offender. Like the cost of being busted is like high. So the only girls who do it are nasty. Like the stigma around prostitution in the United States is super high. Well, when you have a country where all the women are thin, so now being thin is not a selling point. There's not a girl who's like, my body's hot because all the girls are fat. No, it's like all the girls are hot, or all the girls' bodies are good. So now the supply of of body types is like way more in the man's favor. The supply of sex is like doubled because there's the existence of prostitution, which I'm not condoning. There's all these factors, right? And here, another example, when you're in a country where there's no car ownership. So like in the United States,
everyone has a car.
A car ownership is a big part of your identity. What does he drive? Oh, what does he drive? Oh, that guy drives a 2003. Like that's a common like joke. Like you watch Sex and the City. Well, in a country where the economic like development of the country is like lessened, wealth signals have less power. I guess. So in the United States, all of us. No girl's going to be impressed by the fact that you make $40,000 in a year or whatever, right? So you have a 2011 Honda Civic, like wow, who gives a shit, right? But so like the bar is like lifted, right? So now, and also the wealth cap is super high because we have all the celebrities and shit. So the top 1%, like the gap is higher. But when you're in a country where everyone's a little bit less, then all of a sudden it's more equalized. There's less items to impress. So like no girl asks me what I drive overseas. You know what I'm saying? So that's one less thing that a girl needs, like proof. So, here's an example. If you ask a girl in Korea, what do you look for in a guy? She'll say, oh, he has to be rich. He has to do this, this, this. But if you ask a girl in Thailand, she'll be like, I want a good man, good heart. I like honest guy. It's more personality. It's more qualities that are achievable.
And would you say this is pretty true? Like, I mean, obviously, you have to make generalizations to some extent based on your personal experience. Mm-hmm. But like, has that been pretty much your experience just overall? Like, you made the comparison between Korea and Thailand. For the most part, the people that you met in Thailand, male or female, it sounds like they were just more concerned with you as a person than your status.
That's right. Another thing, and again, this is getting a little bit more broad beyond dating.
Sure.
Is countries that are affluent, they tend to have more problems. They have more anxiety. They have more depression. They have more materialistic priority. So, in a place where that's considered poor. There's things about the fact that it's less affluent that actually produce better people. You tend to get more exercise because technology is less affordable. You tend to have less screen time. You tend to get more vitamin D because you're outside more. You tend to do more face-to-face interaction. Like if you're in Thailand, most of the Thai chicks, do you know what they do? They go outside and they go to a street vendor and they get lunch. Everyone's sitting on a street. There's more more humanity. There's more face-to-face. Vitamin D is hitting skin. You're getting exercise. You're being a human being. When you're in school, like having certain things like a smartphone is less common. So kids play like they used to, right? Whereas in the States, you'll see, like, I remember I was eating at a restaurant and I saw it was a guy had a baby in a stroller and the baby's crying. He's eating. He doesn't even look at the baby. He gets his iPad and he just drops it in the stroller and the baby just stops crying, right? Mm-hmm. So like that was kind of weird. So like in America or in the West, in rich countries, we get more screen time, less vitamin D, less exercise. We're less social because we're like, think about it. You wake up, you sit in your box, you drive to your box work, you sit in front of your box, you do your box work, and then you go home and then you try to meet girls on a box and then you go play Xbox, right? Well, every single stage is a signal of wealth. I'm driving in a car. I'm going to a job that isn't outside. I'm on a computer. It's like these things are all nice and luxury, but as human beings, you're actually doing less human things. And so you get more anxiety, you get more materialistic obsession. You're flicking through Instagram. Wow, she's in Bali. Wow. Whereas when you're poor, you like my girl Queenie, you know what she used to do when she was young? When she used to play, they used to play in haystacks. Yeah, she shows me videos. She's like, yeah, when we would get bored, we would play in the hay. And it was like there's a big thing of hay and they're rolling down it. Look, at the end of the day, that's a more human thing. You're playing with kids, you're face to face. So in places that are poor, the truth is the people are just better. They'll wave at you and they'll smile, hello. Whereas like, in rich countries, it's like, do I know you?
Who are you? Why are you talking to me?
Mm-hmm. What do you want? What do you want from me? You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas like I've been in the back of a bus, like a little like small bus, and like I'll just be looking out the window, and then people wave at me, and I'm like, hi. It's like, wow, this is like a cartoon.
There's that element of human interaction. I remember when I was a kid, when I would spend the summers with my grandparents up in Idaho. And, most of the time we're running around playing with my cousins, we're climbing trees, all that stuff, even pre-internet in Central California, like me and 15 of my friends, like 10, 15 of my friends, there was a huge gang of us. We'd all grab our skateboards and we'd ride around town until dinner and we'd go home and have dinner and, and then I'd watch a TV show and fall asleep. And like there's definitely something to be said for, the more technology is improved and wealth has improved in Western cultures. Like a perfect example right now, like we're sitting here talking through, right? Like we're talking through a digital platform. I'm sitting in front of a screen. No one here is actually here in person. I'm seeing their chat messages scroll through here. You're 2-hour drive from me. James is like halfway across the country. So we are interacting to some extent, but it's still different, right? Like it's not like you said, the true human interaction. So there's something to be said for because I spent 2 years in northeastern Brazil. The only place you could use the internet is if you're sitting in an internet cafe, or at least when I went. This is back in like 2002, 2000. I was there for 2002 to 2004. The only way I could like send an email or play a video game or anything was to go to an internet cafe. And even then you're surrounded by people in a room. You're still physically interacting with people next to you on a computer. But for the most part, like you said, people are just happy. There's people there living on dirt floors who have 4 walls around them and a ceiling. Yeah, and they all go sit out, like they all go sit out front and talk to each other while the sun's setting, and some kid's kicking a half flat soccer ball across the street and yelling and screaming and laughing and jumping around with his friends. And they're happy.
This connects with dating culture a lot. And the thing is, people, they don't see the connection. And I mean, there's a lot of other things I could talk about on the topic of dating culture. For example, in the United States, we glorify certain things and then shun others. So, traditional patriarchal gender roles, for example, try to go on a date with a girl and giving her a flower and watch her cringe and laugh and talk shit about you on the internet, right? Well, that's because those gender roles, we have decades of like Disney movies and movies, telling women it's cool to be a man, kick ass. I don't need no man. Oh, all these movies are highlighting this idea, like for women to break free from the traditional gender role. Like, you know what? Why do I have to get married? Single girls, woo! Like I watched a movie on a plane. It was called like How to Be Single. And it was literally just like promoting women fucking a lot of men and getting wasted. Like the whole movie was that's all it was. It was like, why do I need to get married? You know what? I'm going to be single. Yeehaw, la 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 la. That's being married's dumb. I'm not going to have no kids, because that's like we mock the old way. Like, okay, here's a really, this is going to make everyone cringe. Okay, Don't worry, I'll
ready.
In Thailand, multiple times I've had girls who really liked me. They wanted to impress me. Do you know how they wanted to impress me? They said, I want to take you to my house and make you dinner. And then they make me dinner. And then this has happened on multiple occasions. They want to clip my toenails. Okay. Now, imagine if you're on your Tinder date and you're like, you know what I really love in a woman? When she makes me dinner, cleans up and clips my toenails. She's just be like, oh, you're a sexist pig, and splash in your drink. Oh, how dare you? I'm an independent woman. I don't need no man. Because they have decades of anti-traditional gender role narrative, just like decades. Like, so the thing is, in a lot of other countries, that isn't there. Men are men and women are women, and women are like, of course, I want to show off that I'm a good woman by cleaning, I want to make his bed and make him dinner. And like, there's no inner voice that's saying, stop being a woman. You need to show that you have a penis because it's 2018 and feminism. So this also translates in the dating culture too, is that women are like, yeah, I'm a woman and this is me, and I want to show off I'm a good woman. But on the flip side, you also have, like, as a man, you're expected to provide a little bit. You're expected to, like, a girl is really impressed if you can take care. For example, like, help her with something, help her build something, or maybe like pay for dinner or whatever. But like, see, in America, the gender roles for men, they get to stay the same. Yeah, you guys can keep open those doors and paying for everything, but our gender roles, we're going to do the opposite because, and so again, this is like,
I think, like, honestly, I feel like I wish, being a moderate in general, I wish that there was somewhere in the middle, right? That's one thing I've always respected about Lady Navio, is like from the early on when we first started dating, like she would offer to split the bill, like you can't have the yin without the yang, right? Like you can't want your cake and eat it too, right? If you want true equality, you have to be willing to say, okay, well, like for example, when it comes to work, Lady Navio and I both have full-time jobs. We're a dual income household because that's the world we live in, right? I work and she works, but we still have other things where we have traditional gender roles. I fucking hang shit on the walls. I fix shit when it's broken. I step on bugs. I let her have the parking spot. I might fill her gas tank for her, but she's the one that, for the most part, cooks almost all of our meals. And some people might say, oh, you're sexist. No, like, we found a balance between like the roles that we're comfortable with, and we're both adults and we respect each other enough to say, hey, I'll do this, you do that. Like, it doesn't.
And all that's great. All that's fantastic. But see, the fact that in your mind, when you say, and she cooks, and you feel like you have to apologize.
Right,
like,
exactly.
You're not really apologizing, but there's a tiny voice that says, like if you just went into a room and you were like, I love that my woman cooks. Like, there's a party that's like, oh, am I in trouble? Am I going to be in trouble?
Can I say that on
BuzzFeed writing an article about me right now? The fact that even is in your mind is a shadow of kind of what I'm saying a little bit.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not even saying that one way is good or the other. I'm just saying that this influenced dating culture. That's all I'm saying.
Right. That there's different cultural ideals, and some of them will obviously lend to being more approachable when it comes to a dating culture.
But I'll admit, like, now I feel like I've been on both sides of the fence, and like now I'm super sexist, man. I'm like patriarchy, woo, girl, you don't need a job, just fucking start cooking and cleaning, and I'll, it's like offensive. But there's a part of me that's like, you know what, man, ain't no shame in that. Like I would rather like beef up my man roles if it means I get the woman like the same. Like I think the patriarchy or whatever that means is awesome. I think it's cool. People can call me sexist. I don't really care. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. It comes down to choice. Like you're not forcing this, but if it happens, you're like, I'm great with it. And it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to is just choice and respect. Like if people are cool with it, like why is it not okay for me to say, hey, my wife cooks me dinner every night? Like that statement shouldn't in and of itself be sexist, right? Like if that's what we've established and like whether or not that's a traditional role or patriarchy or whatever shouldn't matter. Like
yeah.
Like that's at the end of the day for me, like I don't know. And like that the thing I posted in the Discord, the same thing applies to we kind of meshed when we were talking about sexism, and then we talked about racism and religion and stuff. The idea that you can't even point that stuff out without feeling guilty in some way, right? Like, for example, that guy was saying, like, he worked at a fast food place, and he would have people come in like full Mideastern attire, and they would order something, and he'd be like, oh, by the way, just so you know, that has bacon in it. And they'd be like, oh, thank you for telling me, like, and I'll order something else, because he knew, like, he kind of profiled them based on how they looked and where he lived. Like he knew there was a culture of those types of people. And there was like this mixed response in the comments. It's like, oh, you're a racist and you're profiling them based on their looks or based on traditional whatever. And he's like, well, I mean, when is identifying someone for what, like, most likely, like, for example, when I was in Brazil, going back to Brazil, they like they have zero problem with like, hey, have you met my friend João? Yeah, he's tall and fat and black. And they're like, oh yeah, I know that guy. He lives 2 streets up. And like the fact that he called him fat and black, they don't even register that as offensive. It's
hypersensitivity.
It's a descriptor, right? And it's 100% okay in their culture. They even call it, like, there was a dude there who had a nickname who was Neguinho, which is like little black guy, or like Gordão, which is big fat guy. Like those are nicknames for people there, and no one's offended by it. Like that's just who he is, and it's totally like, hey, this is like, that's who you are, and that's how we're gonna describe you. And he's like, yeah, that's me, whatever. And like it, because they're objectively not being dishonest with themselves, right?
Yeah,
like
the phenomenon of hypersensitivity and political correctness and all that is almost exclusively found in Western European dominated countries. It's this weird thing. Like, here's an example. Okay. So, there's 2 examples that I really enjoy. What's her face? God dang it. One of the pop stars, she did a song called Hello Kitty. What was it called? Hello Kitty. Avril Lavigne, I think. Avril Lavigne did a song called Hello Kitty. And it's like this over the top Japanese themed song, right? It's Hello Kitty, you're so cute, da da da. It's like this, it's a good song, right? Well, in the West, all these articles, Avril Lavigne mocking Japanese culture, Avril Lavigne insensitive, Avril Lavigne's cultural appropriation. It was all this outrage, right? And then people went to Japan, like actually physically, like in the real country, and showed people the video and says, what do you think about this? Are you offended? And they're like, oh, I love this video. And they were like, I love this video. It's awesome. I love when people take interest in Japan. It's so awesome. My friends love this song. It was 100% positive.
Right.
Okay? So here you have people in the West who are, they're manufacturing outrage on behalf of a group that when you talk to the group itself, likes it.
They're like, yeah, we love it. Why not?
So again, imagine if, so, okay, you're Paul, and what do you guys have? What do we all have in common? We all use Windows, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're like, you're going to work, you're doing your thing, and then you read an article, some guy said something and Windows users are outraged, offending Windows users. And then you're like, I'm not offended. And then you don't meet anyone in real life who's offended by this. And you're like, who are these assholes speaking for me?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's how insane it is. And like, you're talking about like, profiling and all that, you know, like that is so common. Most of the world in the West, in these European dominated countries, we're so goddamn sensitive and hyper like careful about it. Did you know that in Korea, I've actually seen signs on nightclubs that says no Negroes, like literally, like that's a policy. And I took a picture and I'm like asking like, oh yeah, they don't like them. I'm like, what? You know what I mean? And it's like, again, this is an extreme example, but like, that's not weird. But like here, again, that's super obscenely ridiculous. But like so the idea of like offending someone by that kind of thing, like it's like, dude, it's so, we are such babies. It's, of course, yeah, if the guy looks like he has Islamic faith, if he looks the part and you guess the bacon, why is that offensive? Like, I want people to do that to me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Look, you look like you have a peanut allergy. Like this product has peanuts. You sure you want to eat this?
Yeah, like, like why would I be offended? I don't care. Like, it's so like.
You look Jewish. This costs a lot. Do you still want it?
People always ask about me being Jewish.
I know. I saw someone in the comments. That's why I made the joke.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Like, why do is it my nose?
I don't know. It's the dark hair, maybe. I'm not sure. Now we're being offensive.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Pull those stereotypes right out.
Anyway, there's definitely some hypersensitivity, and Meshyf always likes to talk about the fact that, like, you know, he calls it recreationally offended. Like it's become a pastime almost. And you know, there's been the joke made that like we haven't had a good war in a while, so like people don't have something to be like
the
upset about, right? So like
is another symptom of affluence. So like imagine you're a rich kid in a rich cul-de-sac. You know, something like, oh, my Ferrari has a scratch. That's going to be a big deal to you because you have no other problem, right? So hypersensitivity to trivial, microscopic things, that is a quality, that's a signal that your life is good. You know what I mean? Because like a real problem is I can't drink water or I'm gonna, there's no food or like, the government's oppressing me. Like, that's what the rest of the world, so, for us to be like, he offended me because he made a logical, inductive reasoning judgment about me that makes perfect sense. Oh, and by the way, he was accurate. Oh, that's offensive. Like that's a signal of like that you have no other thing to complain about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Okay, one more bathroom break. Just a second.
No, hey, we're actually we're gonna take a quick break here. I need to take a break too. It's time. So
okay, great.
All right, we're gonna do Sheef's beef in just a second, but we do have our traditional quickfire questions. So I'm gonna throw a couple of those. Maybe James has a couple of his favorites that he wants to throw at David Bond, and then we will jump into Sheef's beef after that. So I'm gonna bring them on if you guys want to come on. I know David was talking during the break, which I appreciate. And it's true. It's true. Following may or may not increase the size and girth of your manhood. So I'm going to bring them on here. I got the questions up. These are some traditional questions that we like to ask real quick. So David Bond, for those who, a lot of people, oh, he froze. Your camera froze. Oh, there you go. No, you're good. You're good. For those who follow you, who are interested in traveling abroad and getting started on what you do, what are 3 do's and don'ts for kind of, or if not 3, just give us maybe some like, hey, I learned this, don't do that. Like for people starting out, like what lessons can they learn from your experience? What are some things to do and not to do if you're trying to get into this?
Number 1, have more than one bank and have multiple debit cards, because one of the most common things that happens to first-time travelers is their bank thinks that they are doing fraud because they're spending money in weird countries. Their account gets frozen, and then they can't access their money. So if you have multiple banks, multiple cards, that's less likely to happen. Second thing is, a lot of countries require that you show proof of flight out of a country. So I always book one-way tickets, and sometimes the country says, whoa, one way, when are you going to leave? We want to see proof that you're leaving. Well, there's actually services out there like Best Onward Ticket. You can pay $9 and it will literally buy a ticket in your name that's like refundable. So it's like a fake ticket basically. And so you pay $9, you just say, my name is, Joe Brown, and it will buy a ticket in your name. And then you can show the immigration officer, see, I'm leaving, but you're really not. You can also use that to expedite your passport, because they want to see proof of travel. So you just go, you're like, okay, generate me a ticket. That's another big one. Maybe a third tip would be, let's see, for traveling, make sure that your phone is unlocked and get a local SIM card. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to be traveling, let me call T-Mobile. But then you're paying like, 75 cents a minute, and it's like crazy, like hundreds of dollars. Where the truth is, a lot of times if your phone is unlocked, you can just take the SIM card out and you just buy a SIM card in that country. Like, for example, you can get a SIM card for like $10, $20. That's unlimited 4G. And it's way cheaper just to
use a local SIM card.
Yeah, lose a local SIM card. A lot of people, they're like, oh, I got a good deal. I'm paying $180 a month for 3
international calls.
Like, what are you doing? Let me think. Another one might be, make sure that when you're booking flights, not like it's best to arrive in a new place during the day and not at nighttime. There's nothing weirder than like arriving in a new country like at 2 a.m. because then all of a sudden you're like, oh, here's my hotel. Oh, guess what? Check-in is at 3 p.m. You have to sit in the lobby for 14 hours. Like those kind of considerations. People go, oh, it's cheap. It's a cheap ticket. Yeah, but you're arriving like at a weird time. It's actually going to cost you a lot of like headache. So I don't know if those are good or not, but
yeah, no, those are good. What about some don'ts? Like, what are some like legit mistakes you've made as a traveler where you show up and you think, oh, I'm going to do this, and then like shit goes wrong, or like something like, what are some things you don't want to do when you show up as an American in a foreign country? Don't
just do the sightseeing. Don't just Google what to do in Tokyo and just do that, because the truth is, everyone's doing that, and you think you're going to have this authentic experience, and the truth is it's going to be you with like 900 Chinese old ladies taking selfies. It's going to be the most not interesting experience ever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Don't just do what the tourist stuff is. Do something. Here's something I like to do. Ask the taxi driver, hey, where do you buy groceries? Or, hey, where do you live? I'd like to see a neighborhood. That's something I've actually asked taxi drivers to take me to their house, and they've done it. I've actually gone into their house, like met their family, like stuff like that. It's really cool, So don't just do the tourist stuff. Let's see. Don't think that going to more countries is more traveling. A lot of people are like, I went to 10 countries in 3 days. I'm awesome. It's like, no, you got to realize that, the first day and the last day of your traveling doesn't count, because it's all moving around.
Right.
So people think like, I'm going to go to all these countries, and that means it's better to go slower and do less, like go to less places, but enjoy the places you're at more.
Take it all in.
Yeah, I call it sprint travel. They're like, all right, we're doing 1 day in Portugal, 1 day in Greece, 1 day. It's like, dude, don't you realize that if you shave off all the travel time, you're actually not even, you're literally just running. You're just like, okay, I'm off the plane. Okay, here I am. Picture. It's like people think, oh, more countries equals more travel. But no, it's how long you're there, what you do, quality over quantity.
Right.
And then your only memory is, oh, I took a photo of this.
Yeah, it's a blur. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Nice, dude. That's some solid advice. Some of that stuff I like the whole debit thing. I wouldn't even have thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
I know one thing you can do is, and this happens even in the United States. If I know I'm gonna go to like Las Vegas or I'm gonna go visit my, I'm gonna go visit my sister in Colorado or whatever. I'll call my bank before I leave. And I'll call, I have a Chase card. I'll call Chase and I'll say, hey, I'm going to Colorado for 3 days. I'm going to be doing all kinds of stuff, like, just so you know, like, blah, blah, blah. And they'll mark your account and they'll say, okay, he's going to be spending money in Colorado. And that way you prevent the whole, because a lot of that stuff's automated, right? They have automated systems in place where it's like all of a sudden there's a transaction in Colorado the day after I've got gas in my hometown. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. Let's freeze this. And then you got to call them and unlock it. But if you preemptively call your company and say, hey, I'm going to be traveling, I'm going here, here, and here, they'll program that in so that your shit doesn't get locked when you do that. So there's stuff like that.
My favorite thing is I like to call my bank and say, I want to make a travel notice. I'm going to North Korea, Pakistan, Iran, and it's all one way. And they'll be like, what?
James, you got a question? Is there something on the list you want to?
So, you travel a lot. You've been looks like Korea, Japan, Bali, Taiwan. Wait, Taiwan or Thailand? Those are different countries, but I think you've been to Thailand.
Yeah, both of them.
All right, so you've been to both. Nice. So out of all those countries, which one do you think you enjoyed the most?
Well, I do like Thailand the most. I feel like it's never cold. Everything's cheap. The people are great. Everything is convenient. Like, you can walk down the stairs. There's a 7-Eleven. There's a ATM. You want a guest house? Oh, come on in. Furnished apartment, $250 a month. Boom, one day. It's like in other countries, it's like you have to sign the paper, you have to get approval. It's like there's so much because it is the most visited country. Like, Thailand is the most visited country in the world. They have an entire economy laid out for you. Are you a temporary person? Guess what? There's everything for you. Not only that, but flying there is really cheap. I would say honestly, Indonesia is a good one that I really enjoy. Thailand's there, but it really depends on what you want. So, like, if you want to get the shit scared out of you and like transform your perspective on reality, go to India.
I was gonna ask you about India, dude, because I saw your video. That shit was crazy.
Yeah, you'll see a guy that has no legs, and you'll see a guy pass down the street, and then you'll see a cow walking in a restaurant, and you're just like, what is reality? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And makes sense.
Yeah. It depends on what you want and how long you're gonna be. I feel, like a best country. It's like, if all you're gonna do is like, you just want to like, do like techie nerdy things, and maybe Japan might be, so. But in my personal is definitely gonna be Thailand for sure.
All right, last one I got for you, and then we're gonna get the Sheef's beef. What is your favorite cuss word?
My favorite cuss word in English?
Any language, I don't care.
My favorite cuss word.
We ask every guest this.
I mean, I like. I don't think there's a lot of them though.
I know. I know you. You don't really cuss a lot, so.
I mean, when I'm playing video games and I die, I always say fucking bullshit. Fucking bullshit. Like, I just say that all day.
Fucking bullshit. Yeah.
But I'll tell you some other words that I think are funny. In the way that you say, like, fuck in Korea is shibal, and it's really bad. Like, it's really offensive. So, like, if you say it out loud, everyone's like, oh, And also,
the word
in Thai, big titties is nam yai.
Nam
yai, right? Well, they have a cuss word for penis, but it's like a really dirty word, and it's koi. So if you say koi yai, it means like big cock. And dude, you will get people slapping you. You just like, you're in a 7-Eleven, you're like koi yai, and everyone's like, cannot say. What do you do? Cannot. They'll be like it's like saying, well, I can't. it's like saying bad. I don't know how to say it. Like it's like saying really offensive things, and like that I don't want to say because your Twitch will get banned forever. But it's like saying really bad words, and it's funny because in your head you're like, this is nothing. Like lol. But yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
That's awesome. So we had a request from the audience. Someone said we have a question. So is there a sound that you either like or don't like a specific sound that triggers you, that takes you to a place in time? Like it could be a sound from a video game, like Mega Kill, or like something that like when you hear that sound, like for one example, we had a guest who said the sound of a lightsaber takes him straight back to his childhood the first time he saw Star Wars. Is there a sound that triggers you in some way?
So trigger good or bad?
Either way.
The Quake 3 sound when you hit somebody. I love that noise. That's like a great noise.
Right.
I hate the sound of, ASMR.
Oh yeah.
Like, I hate the sound of like a mouth like doing like eating things.
Right.
Like
It's
God, just
creepy.
stop. I
weird.
hate the French accent. I hate it. Like it's like, so hey, what you doing? Let's see. I am from France. I'm just like, oh, like they could say anything and I would hate them. They could be like, do you know Dave, you're a handsome man? I'll be like, no, I'm not. Shut up. Like I just don't like French accents.
Right now.
Yeah. And the Boxy girl, like Boxy, like that cone and that like fake mannerism, I get chills of cringe, just like, oh. Like,
oh no, so that's a big one for me. There's two things in California that drive me crazy. One of them, upspeak. Upspeak is the way you inflect upward at the end of your sentence, and it's a very California, mostly female thing, but dudes do it too, where they talk in questions, and everything they say is talking upward, and you don't even know how much I wanted to talk to her. We deserve this. I love you.
Horrible.
Like everything has this upward inflection. I hate it. And the other one is vocal fry. Oh my God. Like we went to the store.
Dude.
And we stopped at the park, and we that fry. And the worst is when you combine the two, like upspeak with vocal fry. They talk about it on Your Mom's House podcast, and I didn't realize I hated it so much until they pointed it out, and now I can't unhear it. I hear people in California talking like that.
Also, I love the sound of a shotgun cocking. Like, I don't know if you've ever shot a real shotgun.
Yes,
but when
I have.
You're just like, every video game in the history of the universe, you're just like, I am this, right? I am, cocking this shotgun.
Yeah, you feel like a badass. Dude, yeah, you're all over the videos of you guys out in the field shooting shit. Those are great. Those are some of my favorites.
Yeah, I have a video that I've never showed anybody, but it's me shooting a cow that's already dead. And it's... I'm with this Korean girl that I was dating at the time, so it's like it adds this weird element to it. And like I heard that if you shoot a cow, it explodes because it was like really bloated. So I get a shotgun with the slug and I go bam, and it doesn't explode, but then like this like stuff starts squishing out of it. It's like, yeah, it's really bad. But sorry, your view count just went down.
No, that's the good shit, dude. All right, it is time. We have procrastinated long enough. People, we have certain. There's certain members of our community that wait for this moment. Sheef's beef is something we do every week on our podcast. The beef is about to happen. So if you've got that downloaded, if you've got it ready, none of us have watched this yet. We're all going to watch Sheef's beef. For those who are new here, if you're a fan of David Bond and you're here for the first time, what we do is our friend Meshyf, twitch.tv/Meshyf, he's in chat. He's an awesome dude. He's a friend of mine. He's from my hometown. He sold me my car. That's his claim to fame. He sold me my car. He is an angry old man, and I always call him an angry old man. He gets mad because he's younger than me, but he's an angry old man who gets angry about silly things. So he gives us two topics to debate, and which one is the bigger beef. So we're going to watch this video. We're all going to watch it together, and we're going to decide between the two topics that he gives us, which one is the bigger beef. So do you guys have that up? You guys ready to hit play? All right. So I do 1, 2, 3, go, and we'll all hit play at the same time. Let me switch over to my media view here.
Okay, great.
All right. So on go. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, go.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sheef's Beef!
Welcome, everyone, to the ring. I'm your host, Meshyf, bringing you this week's hot and spicy beefs. Now, if you're new to the ring, what we do here is we're going to put two beefs head-to-head and figure out which of the two is the beefiest. We're going to get some input from the chat, Jimmy, James, and our gracious host, Mr. Bond, and figure out which of the two is the beefiest. Let's get to our first beef. DWIC, driving while in California. Welcome to the Golden State, the state with the absolute worst drivers in the history of the world. This is a group of people that can't handle turning left. This is a group of people that when you put them in front of a roundabout, look the fuck out. If you have a way to get around going through a roundabout, take it, because this place, we can't figure it out. Today, I was almost an hour late getting home because someone hit a get bus, a big yellow and blue bus. They rear-ended the fucking thing. What do you think they were doing? Oh, shit.
On their phone.
Bam. There's your car accident. This town that I'm living in now in Central California has more DWIs, which is driving while under the influence, more red light camera tickets, more speeding tickets, uninsured motorists, and unlicensed motorists than any place I've ever seen in my entire life. This place is an absolute dumpster when it comes to getting in the car. Do not drive in this town if you can fucking avoid it. And when I say this town, I mean all of California. Californians, you need to learn how to drive. You spend all day in the car. Figure it the fuck out. First beef is DWIC. Second beef is the joke police. Now, comedians are supposed to make jokes. Good or bad, funny or not, a joke is subjective, and it's not personal. Okay, it's business. It's ha-ha business. Let's have a goof, a gaff, and a laugh. Recently, Mr. Pete Davidson made a joke about Dan Crenshaw, who just happens to be not a Vietnam vet, but a veteran, and he lost his eye. He's wearing an eye patch because he served our country. Now, let's just listen to the joke. To give some context, it was during Weekend Update, and they were talking about candidates that are running for Congress.
As we said, the midterm elections are next week. Here with his first impressions.
He starts with some self-deprecating humor, right? Okay to make fun of yourself. But I've cut out most of the bit.
The midterm elections are obviously a huge deal. And after I had to move back in with my mom, I started paying attention to them. She's loving it.
So here's
this guy's kind of cool. Dan Crenshaw.
Oh, come on, man.
Yo, hold on. You may be surprised to hear he's a congressional candidate from Texas and not a hitman in a porno movie. I'm sorry. I know he lost his eye in war or whatever.
That's it. That's the joke. Hold on. I think I see something. Stop what you're doing. The joke police are here.
Oh, no.
We disagree with something you said. Even though it was a joke, we've taken offense. The joke police are everywhere, and they're calling for people's heads over fucking nothing. This was a joke. It was a simple joke. And you know what? Dan Crenshaw, he ate it up, and he used it to his advantage, and he actually won his election. So this joke actually really helped him. Then everyone was so pissed off, all the pundits and the fucking CNN and all the other news stations, they all got so upset over this joke, this fake outrage. Nobody lost sleep. Nobody was hurt. It couldn't possibly be the worst thing that's ever happened to Mr. Crenshaw, right? That they made him apologize. And then they even brought Dan Crenshaw on to tell jokes about Pete Davidson to kind of get back at him and get even. No, he's in on the fucking joke. It's a fucking joke. All these people pretending like they're upset on your Facebook feed, on Twitter, in YouTube comments, fuck all of you. You're not actually upset. You don't care. It doesn't matter to you. It's just something to throw at other people and to get under their skin so you can take a piece of their day. Listen, it's a goddamn joke. Even if it's not funny, even if you don't agree with it, just move on, okay? It wasn't personal. He wasn't attacking him just because he was a
Change
veteran.
the channel.
He was just making a joke about a bunch of candidates that looked funny. And yeah, someone with an eye patch, regardless of if they're a veteran or not, looks kind of funny because they look different, and different is funny. So, second beef of the week is the joke police. All right. Now's the time where you guys have your chance to put some input in. After the break, I'm going to tell you which of the two is the beefiest. But first, chat, James, Jimmy, Mr. David Bond, I want to hear which of the two is the beefiest beef of the week.
All right. Well, pause it. I'm at 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
I'm at 5:31. Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Nice. What do you think?
So what does it mean to be the beefiest?
Which one do you think is the bigger issue? So do you think driving while in California, and how shitty and terrible California drivers are, or the joke police? Which of those two topics do you think has more weight, has more influence, has more which one are you more upset about?
Well, I think the driving for sure. I mean, I've been in multiple car accidents myself. The joke police thing, I actually agree completely. I even made a post about this on my Facebook that I thought it was silly because right now in politics, the political left, the Democrat, whatever you want to call it, they're the ones who have been the joke police, the censorship people lately. And so for the conservatives to jump on and say oh, that's rude, you can't criticize a veteran. I thought that was totally silly. It's dude, once, in my opinion, once you start to criticize comedy, you just look like a dork,
right?
You're taking something that's meant to be a joke and you're trying to make it not a joke. It's the same thing with people who they try to take lyrics of songs. They're did you know Eminem said this? It's yeah, but the verse before that, he said I put a balloon in an alien's butt and it floated to Mars. It's not, it's lyrics, you know. You know what I'm saying?
You don't have to dig that deep.
Yeah, of course when you write it on a piece of paper, if you try to make something that's not serious, of course it's going to be.
I never meant to give you mushrooms, girl. Yeah, the whole exactly.
So I would say that the car stuff, that's way more. That kills people, of course, how could it not be?
Yeah, no, the joke stuff, I agree. I don't know. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I agree as well. When it comes to jokes, I remember one of my favorite comedians, Dave Chappelle, he had a whole skit on one of his Netflix specials because a lot of people had a gripe with the jokes he made about transsexuals. And he was so he did another whole bit on it about how well, I didn't mean to be offensive, this and that. And then made even more jokes about it because he understood well, yeah, you can criticize me as a person, but at the end of the day, the jokes are just jokes. I don't mean harm with them, and they're not meant to be taken in a hurtful way. They're just to be enjoyed. And then if you looked at it, a lot of them were actually, I laughed. Does that make me a bad person? No, because the intent is to make people laugh. But then driving while in California, even in Vermont, I still hear things about Californian drivers. The California rolling stop. When it rains in California, no one knows how to drive. So I think Meshyf would definitely think it has to do with the jokes, but just the bigger beef for me would probably be DWIC, driving while in California.
I was talking about offensive jokes. And I thought,
oh no, is that a Hitler mask?
I really thought you can't make offensive jokes because they're not, it could offend somebody. Imagine if this is what you eat. What is that offensive? I don't know. So I think I'm just going to wear this for the rest.
Wow.
I can't really see myself, but
I saw your video where you were wearing that. A lot of people were upset about it. This video might not stay up on Twitch. No.
The joke police. They're right in front of me right now.
So, driving while in California affects Californians, but the whole joke police thing, I think it's the reason I might go with the joke police one is because it's so much more wider reaching. Like it goes to the whole conversation we were talking about being recreationally offended, about like there's countries who are actually passing policies and laws about like, oh, I'm offended, and I like, like it's gotten to the point where it's not like, if you were to look at the bigger picture of the joke police thing, like it goes beyond just jokes, right? It goes beyond saying anything offensive. Like the joke police is kind of a smaller signal of a bigger problem, right? Like assuming others' intentions and I'm offended, so you can't say that. And I think that's really dangerous, right? Like on a larger scale. So whereas the whole driving in California thing, yeah, it affects me directly because I drive in California. I used to have a motorcycle, and eventually I was like, fuck this. Like I sold it because I was like, it's not me that's driving dangerously. It's no one else paying attention. Like that's a real issue. California drivers are just bad, especially in the Central Valley. I feel like LA drivers are aggressive, but they're actually better drivers because they deal with that shit day to day. But
well, so I guess if you're saying like this individual case may not be important, but if you're talking about the joke police in general, oh, of course, come on, of course, that's probably a bigger issue, because I mean, like right now, I feel like the joke police is funny, but like the concept of censoring offensive speech in general, that's a huge threat to freedom of speech. It's a huge threat to civilization. I mean, one of the things that makes America special, that's actually genuinely like unique, is our First Amendment. Like even in, I went to Germany with this Hitler mask, and people told me like, dude, if you literally go outside and wear that, you could actually get in trouble. And it's like, the First Amendment in the United States is a very special and precious thing, and it makes us unique. And the fact that there are people who are actually advocating hate speech laws, like that's really scary. And I think all of us should totally be against that. We should all, that's what makes America really cool, is that we have things that makes us special, like the First Amendment. You know what I mean? I mean, like, here's an example. Do you guys know about the Nazi pug? The Nazi pug?
Oh,
guy?
yeah.
Didn't that dude got in like serious legal trouble because
that's called the joke police. Literally police, like the literal joke police actually came, and he went to court and everything, and like that's insane. Like that's so crazy. Like that's like, but at the same time, you need to be, people should be allowed to have crazy offensive opinions and all that too. So maybe like SNL joke police, like that's funny, but if you're comparing freedom of speech under attack by, censorship versus, car wrecks, then yeah, I think I would probably go with joke police.
Yeah, that's how I interpreted it. He used the example of SNL, but I think if you're saying joke police in a broader sense of like, because like, for example, I listen to a lot of, occasionally I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. Everyone here knows that I'm a huge fan of Your Mom's House podcast with Tom Segura and Christina Pajinski. Many of them have expressed, like back in the day, colleges used to be they used to cultivate these ideas of like freedom of speech and like open-mindedness and like embracing multiple viewpoints. But recently it's become a situation where a lot of colleges, many stand-up comedians have said, I will never do a college again. I think Jerry Seinfeld, I said Joe Rogan, Tom Segura,
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle. A lot of them are like, I won't even go on a college campus. Like I won't, I don't hit the college circuit anymore, because now it's like become the opposite, where they go to a college campus and they say something even slightly offended. If they even say the word black, people are like, I'm offended. And they have to like fight. They get they get ostracized and like pushed out of campus, because the idea of like saying a joke that might toe the line, that might offend somebody, all of a sudden it's like, you can't do that. And so like, I think that's a real issue. And so like, if I'm to say joke police in the broader sense, I'm definitely going to probably side with that one. As much as California drivers are terrible.
Okay, well let's talk about it though, because I when I had my Hitler mask, you said that you may not put on YouTube now.
No, I said it may. I said the video might not stay up on Twitch because someone might report it, and not because I would take it down. Like I think, like whatever, fucking I've played Wolfenstein. There's swastikas all over that shit.
Yeah.
You know me. Like I used to be Mormon, and even when I was Mormon, I could take things with a grain of salt. I could still laugh at offensive shit. I can still be like, I don't agree with that, but it's still funny. Like that's the difference, right? The difference is when you start to patrol other people for what they're doing. And that's what I was saying, right? Like, is that like, I wouldn't take the video down. I don't care. Like, be offended. But Twitch might be like, oh, a Hitler mask? No, that's inappropriate. You got reported by 2 people. We got to take the video down.
Yeah. I understand.
That's a different scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was saying.
Well, technically, you could just say it's a Charlie Chaplin.
Perfect. Exactly. Yeah, because it's like, you can say, oh, we're doing this because we want to stop, like blatant like racism and like people really spouting off like super hateful rhetoric. But then that's a very short leap to being like, oh, well, now you better not make any jokes about a person in a position of power. Otherwise, you're going to hear some knocks at your door at 3 a.m. Like it's that short leap as like, well, if you start doing this, that's how short it has to go before you start policing other things that don't need to be policed. Like you said, that's protected by our First Amendment.
Well, fortunately, the best response to bad speech is more speech. So like when people are trying to censor and all this stuff, you get a backlash, and like a conversation like this is the solution in a way. You know what I mean? Like more speech is the solution to bad speech. So like, there's the debate, like should the KKK, be allowed to have a rally? And I would say yes, but I think it's because it's important to see bad ideas so you have something to contrast them with. It's the same reason that like vegans or vegetarians go to the PETA Facebook page. They want to show you animal cruelty, right? Well, why do they want you to? Because when you see it, it brings it to life. Because anyone can be like, there's animal cruelty, but then when you see it, so in a way, like, PETA shows you what they don't want to exist. They like, this is bad. You want to see it? And I feel like the same principle, it could be applied to defending, free speech in a way. Because, for example, like ISIS beheading videos, like I've seen every beheading video on ISIS ever made. I really have. But I think everyone should see ISIS beheading video. And I say that not being silly. I say that in all seriousness because I feel like we like to grasp the evil that's behind this. You have to see it in the same way that the vegetarian people, they want you to see the animal cruelty. You know what I mean? And I feel like as someone who believes in freedom and, human rights and personal liberty and all that stuff, I want you to see the KKK guy. I want you to see the Black Israelites in LA. Have you guys ever seen these guys, the Black Israelites?
I haven't, no.
They occasionally protest in LA. The bunch of black dudes that dress like Moses and like they have all these crazy signs. They're like genocide against whites. It's slavery of whites. It's coming. We're going to get power. And like when you walk by, they'll scream at you, and it's crazy, but it's like, whoa, But like they should be, I mean,
just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean they shouldn't be allowed to say it, basically.
Yeah, and I look at the end of the day, like there was a time when people were burned alive and arrested for saying the earth was flat or was round. You know what I mean? Now the earth is flat. We all know that. But
or that the earth wasn't or that the earth wasn't the center of the universe.
Yeah, there was a time when that was hate speech.
Right.
How dare you question the Bible or whatever their argument was? And the truth is, some of the hate speech, some of the speech we all call hate speech, might have some truth in it. And if we don't allow it, then we'll never get those little grains.
Hey, there we go. Dude, can you guys hear me? That's the first time in the history of Hit the Bucket podcast that the whole entire thing just froze all at once. It might be time to upgrade my potato.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's never happened before. We've done 24 episodes, and this is the first time my computer never freezes. Everything stopped working. I had to restart my whole computer. Luckily, I have a solid state drive, so it was a quick reboot, and we're back. But sorry, guys.
Right, nice.
That was crazy. All right, we're live. Welcome. Where were we? We were talking about the joke police. So
right before Twitch.
So I just like to watch myself, like the little delay. It's fun.
Yeah, we got pooped on by the Twitch police, dude. And sorry, we're good. All right. Yeah, we're solid. All right. So I personally am going with the joke police. As much as California drivers piss me off because I live in California, I think if we're to take a step back and say which one's a bigger, more impactful issue, I would personally say the joke police. What do you guys think?
I'd have to agree wholeheartedly.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode.
Little discussion.
Yeah, I'm sold on that too. I think if the joke police is defined as like the speech police as well, like in general, you know what I mean?
Okay, you guys said you were at 5:31, right? Ish.
Yes. Okay, I'm ready to unpause it whenever.
I'm good to go.
Cool. So let's on go. Let me switch over to my media view here. Get this out of the way. Man, that's so crazy. I recovered pretty quick. Did I do okay?
Yeah, you're pretty fast.
It was a quick recovery. All right, so we'll do it on go. In 1, 2, 3, go.
And we're back. Let's see which of the two is the beefiest. I think this one was pretty obvious. The joke police.
Hey!
Now, there's just too much fake outrage in this world going around. And you know what is super frustrating is that the people that were most upset about this, the people that were most vocal about this are the older generation. The people that would say, hey, sticks and stones may break my bones, or they're always bitching about millennials and the SJWs. Don't get me started on them. They're a problem too. They're a beef. They're coming up, okay? But the older people, the one that are supposed to be thicker skinned and tell people, just get over it, it's not that big a deal, you're the ones that are acting like you're upset. You're the ones that are the loudest about this outrage and how this joke is tasteless and it's wrong and you shouldn't be able to make fun of people. Hold on. I thought you guys didn't want us to all get our panties in a bunch, okay? So older people, you're a fucking problem with this, okay? Younger people, I got your number too. But these were the people that are most vocal this week, and that's why this is the biggest beef of the week.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
We got it right. We did it. That was good. That was a good discussion until my internet, or not even my internet, my computer, literally my entire computer just pooped on me.
I thought it was my net at first because I was like, oh crap, they both stopped moving. And then
Do you ever have viewers go on the Discord and like ask questions and stuff? Is that ever?
Sometimes, yeah. In my Discord channel, people will join and say stuff, but for the most part, it's usually the Twitch chat. We kind of interact with the Twitch chat, and but we've set with the podcast, we set an expectation early on that like we don't interact with chat as much on Wednesday nights during the podcast because it's really about the discussion between us. Occasionally I might pick a comment out, but it doesn't make sense in context when this goes up.
Totally. Yeah.
You know, if someone's listening to us on iTunes, they don't know who that Bishop girl is or you know, Meshyf. Like, well, they know who Meshyf is because he does the beef. But like, if I'm talking to chat,
totally understand.
That doesn't translate to a podcast very well. So it's rare that we like interact with chat as much during the podcast episodes on Wednesday nights. But dude, I feel like you gave us so much good information.
It really was, yeah.
Great, thanks. Appreciate that.
So now that you're back in the U.S., I remember when you recently got back, and you were like, I don't know why, but it feels so good to be home. Like it feels so good to be back in the U.S. and like, you know, blah blah blah. Can you kind of explain that? Because you kind of said as you've gotten a little bit older that your value system has started to shift a little bit, and like when you came home this time, I felt like there was more like, oh, it feels so good to be home. Like, can you kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was gone for 4 months this time, and I feel like, you know, the last, I don't know, this last trip, it was really fast, really expensive, and, you know, I mean, I'm not sure if this has much to do with me getting older, but it's like there's, you know, when you go home, it's like everything's familiar. There's no, like, I don't have to decide anything. There's no decisions. It's like just familiarity, you know, everything works. I can do Amazon packages again. I have fast internet. I can, you know, like all the little things become big. you know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, like it's kind of like coming home from like work, you kick your shoes off kind of thing, you know? And I feel like the longer the trip, the more you appreciate that kind of thing. But in regards to getting older, what I would say, I mean, like I value like the quality of my time more as I get older. Sure. So like, you know, I'm willing to spend more money for convenience, you know, things like better sleep or that kind of thing. Like before I'd be like, sure, you know, I'll lay on I don't mind laying on the floor, the concrete floor of like the Greyhound lobby for 6 hours because it's going to save me $60 or, you know what I mean? Whereas, you know, I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Or things like, you know, quality of sleep is something that I've come to really appreciate. You know, like, this is going to sound stupid, but taking a shower every single day. Because you like when you're young and you play video games, it's like, you're like, what's a shower? Fuck that. Wow. You know, but like that feeling of like cleanliness, like little stupid things, you know,
you're fresh out of the shower.
Yeah. Like
warm from the hot water,
or like what I eat. When I decide what to eat, I don't think, what do I want to eat? I think, how do I want to feel? So like, I know when I eat that Krispy Kreme donut, I know how I'm going to feel after I eat it. Do I want to feel like that right now? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? So right. It's like that kind of thing. Like, do I want to feel this way right now? You know, or like, you know, even like, you know, okay, there's a good chance I'm going to have sex. Do I really want to have a bunch of Indian food? Because I know that it's going to be a curry earthquake.
You're going to be blasting ass for 2 days.
Hour, yep. Yeah, whereas before I'd be like, I'm hungry. I like Indian food. That's all my decision. You know, so it's like stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, it feels good. You know, I miss my family and friends, and you know, this, I'm parked in this chair doing internet-y stuff, and business is good. So I don't care if I, you know, don't, you know, work hard and, you know, all that. It's nice, I guess.
Yeah. So are you you said you're going to be sticking around for a bit, right? I'm sure at some point we'll touch base and hang out, but are you trying to so have you gotten to a point I'm trying to ask this question, have you gotten to a point with your residual income and your online stuff that you don't have to, because the last, every once in a while when you come back to town you're like, oh, I'll get a job or I'll do this or whatever.
Oh, no, dude, I'm totally good now. I'm doing over 10,000 a month. Like this year, 2018, I broke 100,000.
And where does most of that come from?
All of it comes from I would say like 80% is from my websites. So I have the Vault, which is a subscription.
Oh,
so it's like my Patreon. Yeah, Patreon. You know how there's Patreon? I made my own Patreon because I know if I was on Patreon, I get banned in 2 seconds. All it takes some fat feminist be like, I'm offended, and then I get knocked off. So I decided to make my own Patreon, which is like you pay monthly, you get access to private Facebook groups, private Discord server. You also get almost all of my YouTube videos have an extended version. I have bonus clips. I have videos that like they're good enough, but they're not good enough for YouTube. Like I have like videos where like I get rejected or like really awkward things that are like, they're interesting, but they're not, it's like bonus stuff. And then I have the Thailand guide, the single man's Thailand guide, or the single man's guide to Thailand, the single man's guide to Japan. I also have my travel toolkit, which is it's like, do you want to travel long-term? What you need to know? It's kind of like you asked me about travel tips. It's just a giant multi-hour course on if you're wanting to do extended travel, like what would you need to know?
Sure.
SIM card, visas, visa extension, all kinds of hacks, how to avoid ATM fees, stuff like that. And YouTube revenue is not a lot. I mean, it's usually like $1,000 a month, maybe 15 max. But
it's nice to have some extra here and there.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah. Before we end the podcast, I did want to quickly. Reminds me, I wanted to ask you about that. So when YouTube like kind of changed their policies and they added all these algorithms and shit like that, did that impact your revenue stream?
Yeah. So when I talk about my YouTube channel, none of my considerations for what I do has anything to do with ad revenue, because I don't make like the amount of money I make from ad revenue is so inconsistent and so small, and so I don't even pay attention to it. Like occasionally I'll get a deposit and I'm like, oh, nice, but I don't even pay. So to me, what really matters is, does YouTube promote my video or not? So when you open up YouTube on your app, the first videos that show up, that's called your recommended feed, right? What that's showing you videos of people that you didn't subscribe to or people you did. And what YouTube does is says, hey, here's a video. How much watch time does this video get? If the watch time is high, this video is probably a good video. So let's show it to more people. So, my YouTube channel has like 160,000 subscribers. But if you look at my view counts, it's not uncommon for me to get 1 million views, 500,000 views, 250,000 views. So who are those people? 80% of my views are not from my subscribers. They're from people who aren't subscribed. Sure. Which means that YouTube is taking my video and says, hey, this is good. Let's show it to other people who might like David. Now, YouTube will punish you if it's age restricted, if it's demonetized, if it has music in it, right? So if it's a green light video, then it's good. So in reality, when I'm making a video, what I'm really trying to do is to get YouTube to say, hey, this is cool, show it to people, okay? So now my channel is a very suggestive channel. There's a lot of hot boobies and sexy ladies and all that stuff, right? And I also make a lot of politically incorrect jokes. I'm constantly making Indian accents. I'm ripping on Islam left and right. I had a video that I call it Hunting Mexicans, where me and my friend, I pretend to shoot him as he crosses the border. Like I really push it all the way, right? Now, when I'm making these videos, I'm not thinking ad revenue. What I'm thinking is, okay, is this video going to get shot down by the algorithm? So let's say, for example, that I have an attractive girl in the video. Well, YouTube knows the context So if there's an attractive girl, let's say in a bikini, well, if it's in the context of swimming, YouTube will allow you to do it. But now let's say you're in a room and there's a bed. YouTube knows that is not a context where a bikini doesn't make any sense. So you'll get a strike big time.
Right.
Case in point, I had a video once where it was a girl I was seeing, and I was playing Doom. And I had the GoPro on my head, and she climbs on my lap, and like she's on me, and it's funny, and I want to play Doom, but she doesn't want to play Doom. She wants to play something else. And it's like this funny video, and I got a strike for that. Okay, a fully clothed person who's on my lap. Okay, right, fully clothed, no nothing. I got a strike. It said community guidelines violation, sexually suggestive content. The reason is YouTube's computer could detect that the fact that like it knew that this is like an attractive girl and her body has certain shapes. Now contrast that with videos like where I'm like in Thailand islands where like the girl is in a bikini, which is like a quarter of the clothing that the previous girl was in.
Yeah.
But because there's fish and because the title says swimming, YouTube knows, oh, this is okay. So you can get away with a lot more if you frame it in the right context. For example, YouTube doesn't know what side boob is. So if you do side boob, it's good. But if you use front, it's bad. Like little things like that. So I still try to keep it interesting and I try to keep it fun, but I know how to fuck with YouTube so it doesn't punish me. Right. Another thing is I have my videos paced in a way so that it's edited. Basically, the goal of my videos is I want you to be able to watch it. And you know when you're watching a video and you start skipping, you see the thumbnail and you're like, okay, I just want to go to that part, right? I try to make it where the first part is the part that you would skip to, so you don't skip. And I try to make it where the edits are fast enough where you're not bored.
It keeps you engaged, right?
So I'm not just skipping.
Then your watch time, So there's some videos where I don't care. Like, I don't care if it gets promoted, but there's other videos where I'm like, this video I'm going to edit to perfection. And I gotta be honest, I'm pretty good at that. Like almost every video that has over 500,000, I crafted to do that. I'm like, okay, basically I watch my video. The second I'm bored, I cut it and I skip to something interesting.
Sure.
So it's like, I basically edit my videos for horny little kids with no attention spans, basically. So like if you live in Alabama and you hate your life and have no attention span and you're horny, watch David Bond because it's for you. You know what I mean? And so the good thing is the watch time goes up, I get promoted, and then it's just like explosion, Right. And
you have multiple videos that are over like, a couple million views, right? So you're doing something right.
Yeah, but
success doesn't come for free.
Yeah, but as far as like the YouTube, I have cut out a lot. I deleted like 50 plus videos where essentially it has to be YouTube cracked down hard. Like there's channels that actually got deleted without notice. Like no strike, no nothing. They just poof, gone. Right. No appeal, nothing. So anything that advocates or teaches anything remotely illegal, you can't do it. So if I say something like, for example, I know a guy who he got a channel, his entire channel deleted because he did a video about prostitution and he talked about where to go. He was like, yeah, over here is this, and then boom, gone, deleted, right? Also, if teaching anything about guns, anything with guns right now is like not good. So I have to I scan through my stuff, and anything like that is you gotta I just deleted it. Like I had videos that had millions of views that I deleted because I'm like, it's not worth it. I don't want to lose my whole channel.
Yeah, wasn't there was an entire it was a historical they basically documented historical battles throughout history or whatever, from different World War I, World War II, all that stuff, but they were based on they were heavily based on the weapons used during that time. It was a really educational channel, but because it featured guns, their entire channel got banned. But it was purely educational, but people reported them because it's like, oh, guns, and then like the whole channel got banned, and like it was
it's totally. I don't really understand what's going on, but it's these stories are piling up. People just getting their, and so it's at a point where it's like there's so many cool things that I'd love to show, or like, you know, controversial things. I know a guy, he got a strike on his channel because he filmed a cockroach that was dead. And it said like, you're, glorifying violence against animals or something.
Right.
It's like, what? I'm filming a bug? Like, so, I mean, geez Louise. Here's the thing though, is you can also get away with a lot more. For example, there's a whole niche of YouTube videos for breastfeeding, because it's natural, and YouTube's like, oh yeah, and so there's all these videos of fucking titties out and shit. Also, if you're black and you are in Africa, then you could be basically butt naked, because YouTube is like, well, you're not a human being if you're black and in Africa. That's educational all of a sudden. But the moment that you're someone who's not that, it's nudity. Like, I have a video that's age restricted, meaning that you have to be 18 or older. It's literally
watch it, yeah.
It's me literally talking to somebody. That's the video. I'm like, hey, you're cute. Ha 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 ha. Talking to a fully clothed person. Oh, someone subscribed. Yay. Give Paul money. Yay.
What? Who's Paul?
Paul. Anyway, so yeah, talking to a girl. It's age restricted. It's like, I'm confused. So
because we know we're talking leads, David. We know where this is headed.
It's because we're figure. Don't laugh, but it's digital body shaming. If your body's too hot, you can't. You got to be age restricted. If you're a fat mom, then I can talk to fat moms. But at the moment that they're thin, it's like, this is inappropriate. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
why so many content creators go to other places like Patreon or doing their own websites for most of their funding now.
Yeah, I pretty much use YouTube for advertising. And even everybody here who's familiar with the podcast, you guys know who Frosty is. He's my editor. He kind of like manages all my media and stuff. And when we first started posting on YouTube, like, we'd have to upload the same video like 3 or 4 times because it kept getting like automatically just like, oh, nope, you can't do that. Oh, nope, this is copyright. Oh, nope, this is offensive. And we'd have to keep editing the videos multiple times until it was like appropriate.
I've tested this. If I can have a title like, if I say cute girl, instantly demonetized. If I say nice girl, it's okay. If I say, like, there's certain combos. You can't say cute girl. You can say cute boy. You can't say cute girl, or you can't say pretty girl, anything like that. You know, because YouTube, to be fair, they don't want YouTube to turn into some sleazy thing. I totally understand. It's not a big deal. But there's certain combos that are like, really? Like, that's why some of my titles are really creative. Like, for example, I have this video where we go to like a market, we go to a floating market, and there's a scene where she picks up a wooden black dick, right? And so I said, Thai girl plays with big black Bangkok. Because Bangkok is a city, so YouTube doesn't think it's bad, but your brain is like, haha, funny, you know what I mean?
Right.
And yeah, 500,000. It's all about tricking it, you know, like, or using innuendo like all the time,
right?
Like, you know, like,
you gotta skirt it just enough that it like,
Thai girl gets wet, touches my banana, something stupid, like, you know, like, it's like the words don't mean, you know.
Yeah, unless you're a human, you don't really understand it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. It's crazy how many loops you have to jump through to trick an artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, like, we're approaching 3 hours.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I know, it flies by when we're having good conversation. This happens every week
does.
where we're like, holy shit, it's almost 9 o'clock. But sorry about the little crash there. It looks like we lost a few viewers. They got fed up with us. I was down for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and that happens. But we got the topic got too spicy, and we got shut down by the
The joke police came.
The joke police came and shut us down.
They're
Thank
like,
you.
Three white men defending freedom of speech. Ban. It's like
That is definitely not allowed on our,
Yeah,
on our
not
platform.
approved.
the funny thing is James is actually Hispanic. He's
True.
he's the whitest Hispanic person you'll ever meet, and is self-proclaimed. I'm not making a racist statement, but
I
yeah,
have said that.
Well,
many
if you look
times.
white but you're not, see, like you can just like, be white all the time, and then the moment it's convenient not to be white, be like, actually, I'm a person of color. As in a minority, let me give you my opinion.
See, you're joking about it. I pull that so many times.
he's conveniently white.
Like I have a bunch of fake Facebook accounts that I created a long time ago for fucking with people and stuff. But now for fun, what I like to do is I have like different Facebook accounts with like different identities. Like there's like I have a hijab girl and like a black man and all that stuff. So what I'll do is if I get into political like conversations, if they start to like say like, oh, your opinion is less because you're a white guy, I'll like jump onto my like black guy account and be like, actually,
You're like debating yourself.
no, like I'll like jump in and defend myself. Like I'll like pretend to be because it's like God damn it, I just want to talk about an issue. But in your mind, you have like this hierarchy of opinion value system based on what group you're a part of. It's like, look, I could just like, I could tell you why that's stupid, or I could just play your game and I could just like change my mask and like, okay, fine. I can only talk about this if I'm this person. Okay, la la la, here we go. And then they can't, they're like, oh, well, why do you think that? You're this group that I think shouldn't think this way,
Triggered.
Mhm.
Triggered.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, David Bond. We've been I've been talking to him for a couple months about being on the podcast, but he was out of the country and it just never lined up. So I'm glad we were able to make this finally happen. David Bond, now is your chance. Anything you want to plug, any URLs, any YouTube channel, whatever, any final statements, anything you want to say or plug, now's your chance.
No, I mean, I guess if you guys want to check out my stuff, just go to, type David Bond on YouTube, and I mean, that's it. I mean,
So
just,
where can they find your guides? What's the URL? Isn't it like davidbondvideos.com or something like that?
yeah. Well, the sites are a complement to the channel, so it's better to start at the channel. But David Bond videos. But it's like you want to watch the YouTube videos first to like talk about for them to be relevant. You know what I mean? It's kind of like my analogy is like, there's the Seinfeld show, and then there's like these Seinfeld extras bonus interviews.
Right.
Mhm.
Like the interviews only are interesting if you watch the show first, kind of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense.
So I gotta watch all of your videos before I pay for the tips. Gotcha.
No, the guides you can get on their own, but yeah, just David Bond on YouTube, and there's links all over the place, just like every other YouTube person.
Right.
It's hard not to find.
Cool.
But yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, and this podcast, as usual, will go up like usually around Thursday night, Friday morning. This will go up on my channel on YouTube, and you can find it at hitthebucket.com. You can search for Hit the Bucket on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. It's on all the podcast platforms. James, any final words or questions or anything you want to throw out there?
No, we're good. Covered everything.
This has been awesome, David. Like, I feel like you've provided a lot of really great just insight into what you do, and I think a lot of your obviously a lot of your fans showed up and had some things to say and some questions to ask, and hopefully we were able to shine a light on David Bond and who he is and where he comes from, and we'll be back next week. Well, maybe we may or may not have a podcast next week. It's Thanksgiving week, so
That is true.
I'll keep you guys posted if you're following the Discord. And I think to end the show, we're gonna go and raid my good buddy, the MJ Lance. He's an awesome dude. He's super entertaining. He's a member of Team DLC, so we'll drop a raid on him. David Bond, if you want to stick around for a minute in the Zoom channel after I end the podcast,
of course.
We usually do
it's
a
been super
couple
fun.
just pictures and promotional things for Frosty to use for the thumbnails and whatnot. So Let's do a little raid on MJ Lance here. If you guys want to join, go say hi to him. And hope you guys have a good night. And thank you.